the final sentences, and there's no release. Oh, God.
Let's call the meeting to order. Monday, April 18, 2005, right at 7:05 p.m. This evening we have the invocation by the Reverend Clint Stockton of First Presbyterian Church, followed by the Pledge of Allegiance with the Police Explorers and Mayor Warren. Would you all please stand?
Let us pray. Our Father, we invoke your presence. We ask for your grace, your mercy, your steadfast love. And tonight during this meeting, we ask that you keep your peace upon us. Father, we're grateful for the men and women that conduct the business of this city. We understand that you have ordained them from before the creation of the world, that these are the men and the women that you wanted in position at this time. We ask that you bless them, that you give them the wisdom of Solomon, that they might do what's best according to your divine will and what's best for the city of Homestead. Father, we want to thank you for the public servants that serve so faithfully with our city, their protection, their caring, their loving of the community. Father, the service that is rendered and the many thanks that are not returned. Father, I just ask that you bless the public servants, the police, the fire, the public works workers, the utility workers. Father, just bless them for their unending devotion to this city. Father, we just ask that you keep your hand on this meeting. May it be a meeting that will bring honor to the city of Homestead, for it is our home. We ask that you lift her up and make her a beautiful city. For this we ask in the most holy name, the name of our Savior, our Redeemer, and our God. Amen.
Amen.
Look at us and just vote for March. Underguard, hope. Left, face. Present arms.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Over arms. Right face. Upward march.
You may be seated. Thank you. Roll call, Madam Clerk.
Mrs. Bell, absent. Ms. Garner? Here. Mr. Hodge, absent. Mr. Losner?
Here.
Mr. Porter?
Here.
Mrs. Waldman, absent. Mayor Warren?
Here. Any additions, deletions, or deferrals?
None, Mayor.
Special presentation in Officer of the Month for February 2005, awarded to Officer Andres Rodriguez. Councilman Porter.
Mr. Mayor, City Council, Mr. City Manager, I'm Lieutenant Tom Foglia with the Police Department. Of course, we have Chief Al Roll here, and this is Officer Eric Rodriguez and his young son Andy, and he's going to be our February Officer of the Month. Councilman Porter will present the plaque at the end of the ceremony. If I could, I'll just go over a few of the things that he did during February 2005. During that month, he made a total of 9 arrests. He's assigned to the afternoon shift, and the day shift. And he's also a field training officer, which means he trains all of our new officers. And as you all know, with the growth of the city, we're hiring a lot of new officers, and this is one of the individuals that trains the new people. Just to go over a few things that he did. During routine investigations, what Eric was doing is just checking the area of different locations throughout the city. And this is self-initiated activity, and it shows what a good officer that he is. On one of the situations, he was checking a apartment complex out with one of our detectives. Individuals saw them, wound up running. After a brief foot chase, they located 35 bags of crack cocaine on the individual. So that was a very good arrest in that situation. In another situation out on Northwest 5 Avenue, there was another individual that attempted to flee from him. It was a female who was loitering in the area. All the residents were calling on her because apparently she was known for her drug activity. He was able to locate her and arrested her for possession of drug paraphernalia. Another very good arrest. Another situation, he observed a female panhandling. This was out on West Maury Drive. She attempted to conceal an object on her person, and we had to have a female officer come by and check her out, and she had a crack pipe on her. So obviously a lot of drug-related activity that he's been able to quell within our city limits. Also on February 17th, he responded to a burglary in progress. What happened on this call, which is over on Northwest 7th Street and about 6th Avenue, a woman had come home and 5 individuals were actually in her house. They wound up fleeing out of the house. Eric showed up on the scene, established a perimeter, got K-9 to come out. They wound up locating 3 of the subjects and found 2 more hiding a couple houses away. So another great feat right there. Eric's consistently a great officer on the day shift. It's with great pleasure that he received the February Officer of the Month.
It gives me great pleasure to be able to give you these rewards from the business community, and I want you to go back and tell all of your fellow officers that all of the nice things that were done for you on the behalf of you doing such a good job for the city, and tell them if they work a little bit harder, maybe they could be up here as well. Tonight you're going to get an awards. The award for the plaque is from Awards Inc. City Attorney's Office is a $100 check. First National Bank of South Florida is a $50 savings bond. TIB Corona Avenue is a $50 savings bond. Community Bank is a $50 savings bond. Tony's Sub and Grill is a free meal of choice. Ferguson's Jewelry is a $75 gift certificate. Ruby Tuesdays is a $50 gift certificate. Global Technologies Incorporated, Partners Incorporated is a $50 check. Logos store on Old Dixie Highway is a $50 gift certificate. Carl Pelt and Son Goodyear Tires a certificate for an oil change valued at $25. Homestead Transfer and Storage is a check for $25. Dale Blake from Blake Chevrolet is a $300 value oil change, lube, filter, car detail, tire rotation. Captain Car Wash is a free car wash, $20 value. And Paul Kruger from Evolution website or Web Incorporated is a $20 gift certificate to Chuck Wagon. And I know you eat there because I see you there regularly. But it does give me great pleasure on behalf of the mayor and the council to be up here to recognize you for the Officer of the Month. Here are the awards. And I'd like to give you this plaque, which reads, presented to Officer Andres Eric Rodriguez for being selected the Officer of the Month, February 2005. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you very much. I'm not very good at speeches, but I just come out here every day and just do the best I can, and with the help of everybody behind me, and we've got a great command staff within the department. I'm very proud to be a member of this police department and with this city. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, Mr. Porter. And congratulations again, Officer Rodriguez. For the record, Vice Mayor Bell sends her greetings. She's in Cape Town, South Africa, doing some missionary work with her family. Ms. Wallman and Councilman Hodge is running late, but they will be here. And in the absence of Councilwoman Wallman, I'll present the safety awards for the month of February, March, and April. If you're in the audience, would you please come forward? The City of Homestead recognizes employees who have demonstrated a high regard for safety and the performance of their jobs. The employee must be a full-time employee of the City of Homestead with the exception of the Police Benevolent Association and the managerial supervisory level employees. Free of accidents and injuries for the preceding 6 consecutive months. Recognition includes a certificate, a paid day off, a safety badge, and starting October 2003, not only a safety badge and a $25 check from Weiss, Rhoda Huffman, Pastorizi, Guidez, Bonisk, and Cole. My God, you're adding on every year, Richard. So I am honored to recognize the following employees for the month of January. We have Denise Santana and Michael Hayes. For the month of February, Drew Steen. And for the month of April, we have Raul Baez and Larry Riggs and Emerson Moss. Let's all give them a hand. Did you get it right? Thank you. Thank you all. Next on the agenda is the approval of the consent agenda. The motion for approval? Moved by Councilman Porter. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Councilwoman Garner. Any questions?
Mayor,
Mr. Losner?
I'd like to pull item H for some discussion.
H. 5H.
Yes.
Mr. Losner?
Yeah. We discussed this at the committee of the whole meeting and had some questions answered, but since I'm very uncomfortable with this. What it does, it requires the city to spend upwards of $320,000 to install some infrastructure, electrical infrastructure, in connection with a multi-million-dollar improvement at the Speedway. And we were assured that there was precedent for this expenditure. One thing that was discussed, and I want to clarify and have the council clarify tonight, was that staff was recommending, I believe, Mr. Shahada, that the holder of the operating agreement at the track issue its written acknowledgement that to the extent that the 4-year stream of income did not, or increase in the stream of revenue did not cover that cost, that at the end of that 4-year period, our ordinance would require that entity to reimburse the city for any shortfall in the increase. Is that correct, Mr. Shahada? Is that?
Mr. Losner, council members, that's the direction we left the cow with, and actually Ken wrote a letter, was reviewed by David Rubin, and was sent to the track today.
Very good. Okay,
confirming that understanding.
Wanted to be sure that was out there, because I don't know that we ever really got on the record an acknowledgement from the track's representative at the committee of the whole meeting. So that's part of the package then, the letter from the attorneys and the
That's
track.
correct.
Obviously at this point, since the last meeting, there's been an announcement by the track of a multi-million-dollar enhancement. And my question, I guess, Mr. Manager, to anybody who can answer it, are impact fees paid on those permits, or are they exempted under the operating agreement, or as city property, are we going to collect any impact fees for those improvements?
There's no impact fees collected. All the improvements out there go to the city. Actually, they stay with the track and they belong to the city that are conducted out there.
But, and my concern is that to the extent that those multi-millions of dollars of improvements are taxed, the city's going to be footing the tax bill to potentially to the tune of several $100,000 additional dollars a year if the numbers I'm hearing are taxed beginning January 1/06. I guess that's just something we'll have to deal with at budget time. But I just want us to be real clear and be out front that no impact fees and more tax bill and $320,000 of infrastructure that's paid back over a 4-year period.
That's hold on a second.
Mr. Losner, I think if I understand right, I'm talking about the no impact fees for the light improvements, since it's not dealing with the surface area because it's subject to. Our impact fees are tied to square footage, but if on the lights we don't have an impact fee.
Apparently, there's some indication that there would be some additional bricks and mortar, and I guess that's what I'm getting at is whether or not impact. Lighting, I know, is kind of a nebulous issue, but any of the other, if there were any other improvements, would there need to be permits pulled and impact fees paid on those additional improvements?
I'm not really familiar with it, and I think Kurt said there will be no impact fees, but to really give you the final answer, we will review the agreement and confirm.
Thank you.
Welcome.
Thank you, Mayor. That's all I had.
Thank you, Mr. Losner. Any other comments? All in favor of the consent agenda, say aye. Aye. Opposed? Public hearing, ordinance and land use items. Mr. Attorney.
Please be advised that the following items on the agenda are quasi-judicial in nature. If you wish to comment on any of these items, please indicate the item number you would like to address when the announcement regarding the quasi-judicial item is made. An opportunity for persons to speak on each item will be made available after the applicant and staff have made their presentations on each item. All testimony, including public testimony and evidence, will be made under oath or affirmation. Additionally, each person who gives testimony may be subject to cross-examination. If you do not wish to be either cross-examined or sworn, your testimony will be given its due weight. The general public will not be permitted to cross-examine witnesses, but the public may request the counsel to ask questions of staff or witnesses on their behalf. The full agenda package on each item is hereby entered into the record. Persons representing organizations must present evidence of their authority to speak for the organization. Further details of the quasi-judicial procedures may be obtained from the clerk. In accordance with Code Section 2591, any lobbyist must register before addressing the council on any of the following items. At this time, council members must disclose any ex parte communications concerning any items on the agenda. At this time, the clerk will swear in any persons who wish to testify on any quasi-judicial item.
Please stand and raise your right hand. Do you swear or affirm to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God? Thank you. Our first item is first reading of an ordinance of the City of Homestead, Florida, granting the request of Turnpike Homes, LLC for rezoning from AU Agricultural District to R1 One Family District. Also granting preliminary plat and site plan approval for Hacienda Grande, located on the northwest corner of Southwest 320th Street and Southwest 157th Avenue, as legally described in Exhibit A, a 19.83-acre site consisting of 88 single-family units, and providing for an effective date.
Is there a motion for first reading?
Mayor.
Move first reading by Mr. Porter. Is there a second?
Second, Mayor.
Second by Ms. Garner. What was the vote on the planning and zoning for the record?
Mayor, members of council, the Planning and Zoning Board approved this 4-0 on February 2nd. It is also for 74 single-family units. That was a requirement that they got on 74 units. Now it says 88.
It says 74 instead of 88?
Yes, sir. It is 74. There was also a request that they do not gate the entryway.
Mr. Porter?
Mr. LaPlante, the track B, the vacant land in the middle.
It's a lake, I believe. I'm going to have to...
Be a lake.
I got the wrong file. Yes, that's a lake.
Okay.
That's correct. And it'll have a tot lot on the lake.
On the lake. All right.
Yes. Yeah,
Is this one of the ones that was going to do some of the, what we would consider like beach access, some of the improvements to the...
There will be a lake maintenance easement around the lake that will not be impeded by fences, and the lot lines don't go all the way into the lake maintenance easement. So you'll have an open space. But if you look at that drawing there on the northwest corner is an access point with a tot lot. No, there will not be a beach, but there's going to be a little play area for kids and the general public, relaxation or bench type of situation.
Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, Mr. Porter.
And this applicant does have to join in on the redevelopment of Maury. We've mentioned them that throughout the process that they'll be obligated for their portion of improvements to Maury Drive.
Any initial comments from council? Any more comments from council before I open a public hearing? I'll open up for a public hearing. Any comments from the audience? Any comments from the audience?
Just briefly, Mr. Mayor, Stephen James on behalf of the applicant, 701 Brickell Avenue. That was 88 units. I think, Charles, I think you're confusing that with the other application, but it is correct at 88 units.
88?
That's correct.
You're right. I was confusing it with the one that's coming a little bit later on second reading. I apologize.
If there's no comments from the audience, I'll close the public hearing. Comment?
Mr. Mayor, members, Annie Betancourt on behalf of Dade County Public Schools, and for the record, we had have had extensive dialogue with the applicant, again pursuant to the interlocal agreement for public school facility planning, and they have been very cooperative in this endeavor, and I appreciate the opportunity of working with the developer in this regard. Thank you.
Thank you.
Mayor, if I might, they did reduce the number of units from 97 to 88. The other one that we'll see later is down to 74, but this one's from 97 to 88.
Good, thank you. Roll call, Madam Clerk.
Mr. Losner?
Yes.
Mr. Porter?
Yes.
Ms. Garner? Yes. Mayor Warren?
Yes.
Next is first reading of an ordinance of the City of Homestead, Florida, granting the request of Valdemar de Silva for a rezoning from R1 Single Family District to R3 Multiple Apartment District, also granting site plan approval for 4 multifamily units on .37 acres of land located on the northwest corner of Northeast 12th Street and Northeast 1st Avenue as legally described in Exhibit A, and providing for an effective date.
Is there a motion for first reading?
I'll move first reading for discussion, Mayor.
Move first reading for discussion by Councilman Porter. Is there a second?
Second, Mayor.
Second by Councilwoman Garner. Mr. Porter?
Well, I guess basically one of the things that I'd like to know in the process of talking about duplexes, my first blush look at this is it looks like a duplex, and I'd just like some clarification from staff in that respect.
Mayor, members of council, Mr. Porter, this property is proposed to be rezoned to R3, which is multiple apartments. A while back, the council removed duplexes from our code. That's no longer in there. It was the used to have R2 duplex code. But R3 it's actually an apartment building. It can either be condo or apartment. It's the choice of the developer. But theoretically, the difference between a duplex and an apartment, not tremendously that much, depending on how many units. I mean, generally when you think of apartments, you think of many units. This just happens to be 4 units.
Well, I know there were some amenities that were added in that gave it a little bit of a different...
That is correct. Under direction from this council, the R3 zoning code was amended last year
to include many items. Actually, 03 I think was when we finalized it, 03 and 04, to include, a tot lot or some other recreational amenity, street lighting that meets our lighting standard, the decorative lighting standard, those items, so that, storage, so that it becomes a more livable area. Minimum unit size was increased to, 2-bedroom will be 1,000 square feet. This property is located in the medium-density residential land use area, and it's currently zoned R1, which is incompatible with the land use. Under our comp plan, medium-density land use does not allow for an R1 zoning. It's R2, R3, or cluster houses, those type of things, are R4. So this would be consistent with the land use.
So in order for anything to happen, it needs to be rezoned.
That's correct.
And this is consistent with the future land use.
That's correct. This is one of the items under the future land use that it would be allowed to rezone to. It's up to the vote of this council, but the land use only allows for the land use designation is generally implemented through the R2, R3, RTH, which is townhouse, RCH, which is cluster house, RMH, which is mobile homes, or RT&D, which is traditional neighborhood development, zoning districts. So when the applicant comes in and wants to do something, they have to pick from one of those of what they want to do. And this person chose the R3 multiple apartments.
Mr. Mayor.
Mr. Losner?
Well, obviously this application got my attention as well, and I certainly thought what I thought our vision was for that area, that this was somewhat incompatible. Certainly this was predominantly at one time a detached single-family area that had incursions of the D word, the duplexes, many years ago, and that I guess if this is the underlying land use, it's probably something we missed and should have been in the comp plan amendments, so that the underlying land use was consistent with certainly the encouraging true single-family detached residential in those areas. So I guess I'll kind of ask in reverse. Without the zoning change, what would be permitted there without any action?
Well, without the zoning,
with an R1 zoning with the underlying medium density use, what would be permitted?
Under the medium density, as I said, you could do R2, which is single-family or townhouse, under the new code. R3, which is multiple apartments, what they're asking for, which includes condos or multiple apartments. That's used for both of those. RTH, which is townhouses, but you're required to have 5 acres. RCH, which is cluster houses, but you're also, again, required to have 5 acres under code. RMH, which is a mobile home park, which I don't think we want to see that. RT&D, which is a traditional neighborhood development, which this site is not really that large to accommodate that type of development. GP, government property, that's the items.
Yeah, I guess my concern is kind of an isolated, almost what we might have used to have called spot zoning, in my mind anyway. My concern is that if we open the gate for this one, there's another vacant lot next door for the other quarter or the other half of that side of the street. It seems to me with what's permitted with the current mix of underlying land use and zoning, that perhaps what would be required may be a little better product, might even be a little larger than what's proposed here. Because let's not kid ourselves. He can call it a condo all he wants. A duplex is a duplex is a duplex. And this is what it is, and I really fear that this would be opening the gate in that whole corridor, bounded by probably 15th Street down to 10th and all the way over to Old Dixie Highway. There's a lot of open space where I think we had envisioned more of a townhouse or cluster house or urban design type neighborhood, and there are land masses there that justify that. So I'm, obviously, probably no surprise, very uncomfortable with what's being proposed here. Even with the R3, it would be a higher level of amenities required than what are submitted with this application, as architecturally anyway. Is that a fair assessment as to?
There is a large segment between Chrome Avenue, 15th Street, Campbell Drive, and Old Dixie that is medium-density residential, this whole core. Theoretically, that's the areas that you should have it in.
Designations.
That's correct. Yes, sir. Within consistent zoning designations.
Sounds like a project.
We would happily work on that for you.
I would be very happy to see the ball begun to be rolled down that hill to bring those two categories into consistency.
Yes.
Thank you, Mayor. That's all I have.
Thank you, Mr. Losner. Any other comments from council?
A question, Mayor.
Ms. Garner?
Charles, this is an existing unit, and there's going to be 3 additional new units. Does the existing unit meet the current standards?
It has to.
Square
yes.
footage? And are they going to be building on it to add the storage for that unit? So they're all going to have the increased amenities?
Mr. LaPrade. Mr. LaPrade. Charles.
Yes, sir.
I can barely hear what you're saying.
I'll speak up. Is that better?
Thank you.
Let me see.
Any other comments from council? They open up the public hearing?
Mayor, I'm sorry, I apologize, I was late, I was in another meeting, but I have a question after Ms. Garner, and it may have already been answered.
Are you waiting on a response, Mr. Ford?
I think Ms. Garner is.
Ms. Garner?
I was just asking if it was going to have the...
Yes, if you look at the plan that you have in your package, there's a connection between the buildings. That is a storage area. You also have the patios as required on these properties, as well as a tot lot.
So they will be increasing the existing unit so that it complies with our current requirements for storage, patio, square footage.
The newer units meet the requirement. The other one does not because it's existing. I'm sorry. It's 5 feet shy of our 5 square feet shy of our existing requirement.
Okay, thank you.
But being that it's existing, it can.
Right.
But it is only 5 feet shy. Actually, not even quite. It's 4.6 square feet shy of our requirement.
Ms. Roman?
Well, I was just concerned today as I was reading through the planning and zoning minutes. And since we have like 45 pages of planning and zoning minutes that was delivered to us in our package this week, here it is on page 2 of the February 16th meetings. Now, I was just concerned because there's a lot of talk in here about rentals and you know, are there going to be rentals? Are there not going to be rentals? And I spent a good part of the last month just kind of going by that area and looking and seeing what's over there, and it's becoming almost as bad as west of the railroad tracks. You know, over on between 8th Street and 15th Street. I mean, it's really bad. So, you know, with that being said, when you start talking about apartments and you start talking about duplexes, I'm going to have to vote no on this tonight. And I hope you understand why.
Oh, yes.
Any other comments? Mr. Porter?
Charles, I'm sorry, but I can't see from the overhead here. What surrounds it? I know I see the vacant lot to the west, and then you've got is that an alleyway or an easement, or is that that's a road to the east? What's to the north of it?
To the north is more units of similar nature. There's a couple of single-family homes in there on the western side. Then across the street, you have a large apartment complex.
When you say across the street,
to the east. To the east.
To the east. Okay.
To the east. Yes.
So, I mean, to some degree, it has already got a flavor of a higher type density than single family.
That's correct. There are several large apartment buildings in that area.
So I have trouble with the same thing that everyone else is having trouble with, okay, because we've struggled very difficultly to try to get a handle on this. And, you know, in the absence of something better, is this as good as it can get, or do you try to get somebody to put a single-family home back in an area? Well, obviously, it's going to be rezoned anyway to something. So, you know, we're struggling to try to address a problem, and at this particular point, how can we do it? You know, if we hold off for something better, can we get it any better?
I would always hope you could. There's always room for improvement, but they did meet, for the most part, you know, the current code that had its new requirements in there with the patios and the storage and the tot lots, the site lighting, those items. So we would hope that it would create a different situation than what's currently in that area. But I do understand your concern. I was over there today, and, you know, there are a few units over there that just have problems, you know, windows missing, those type of things, which are minimum housing situations, you know, minimum housing standard situations that need to be looked at. But the hope is that as maybe new development comes in there, you know, when we look at what has occurred on the old Women's Club site with those townhouses in there, I think that has added a lot to this neighborhood. And this is just, you know, 3 blocks down.
Well, almost as a reverse cancer, let's just call it.
Yes.
If you've got a problem, if we could go in there and spur some positive development, obviously this at a minimum is better than what is there today.
That's true.
Okay. So, you know, from that point of view, I'd like to see more investment back into the core areas where we do have the problems, and, you know, at that same time be able to get something that, you know, we can all live with towards the end of trying to improve and give quality back to a neighborhood that's, as Ms. Waldman says, is suffering through some problems.
It is suffering.
In my mind, I'm trying to figure out how do we get some positive reinvestment into these communities that have real problems, and will this be better than, is this as good as we can get it at this particular point?
The only thing that I believe, in my opinion, can make it better if it was done in a way to promote home ownership, so that you have more of a pride in your neighborhood. Unless it becomes condos, then you don't have the opportunity for ownership. It would just be rental. So that was something that was discussed with the applicant at the Planning and Zoning Board hearing.
So it's designed now to be a rental unit?
I don't know if they've decided to go through with make it into a condo or not. If it's turned into a condo, then each unit could be sold, and the land underneath it would be community property for everybody there, but each unit would be sold. And that, in essence, would promote the home ownership.
The concern that I have is, obviously, like I said, as much as possible, we need to get people to want to come into the core areas where we have problems and reinvest and revitalize a community. And that's the issue. You know, I agree there needs to be ownership in properties. I question whether or not you could get a single-family residential unit built in that area with the surrounding neighborhoods around it, plus the fact that your future land use is also designating a little something different as well.
That's correct.
So, you know, you as a staff have got to get everything that we can get out of this and encourage redevelopment in these areas, because it just, the sprawl in all different directions is not going to solve all these inner areas that we've got problems with. And so, you know, that being said, we've got to do something. And if it's the applicant is here, I'm sure they can attest to whether or not they want to do some sort of ownership scenario or work with us a little bit. This issue sounds to me like it's got problems at this particular point, clearing, especially maybe even on the second reading. So I don't want us to walk away from opportunities to redevelop, but I agree with all the council members, let's get everything that we possibly can. Thank you, Mayor.
Charles, was this one of the areas that we get a response from the state? Was this, I know we got a report back from the state on the plan that we submitted.
No, sir, this was
consistent with...
Yeah, this wasn't even up for question under that. But this area is more of an inner city area. It's next to Chrome. You have a lot of commercial in that area. There are possibly other land use designations we could look at in that area, much as like the ones that are going in front of the state, which they are neighborhood mixed use or something like that requires a little bit different type of development. But under current land use guidelines, it is medium density residential. The only zoning that would allow a single family would be either R2, and that's allows a single family because we removed duplexes from it, or the RT&D, traditional neighborhood development, which you really should have more site than this to work with that on, and our cluster homes, which you have to have a minimum of 5 acres on. So that's they were somewhat limited.
Single family is surrounded by R3?
Yes, sir. This area, and it's not just a couple of blocks, it's several blocks. I mean, you have everything from single-family ranch-style homes on fairly large lots, or some older wooden homes on some large lots, to about 30 unit to the acre apartment buildings. So you have a cross-section in there. Duplexes, triplexes, fourplexes, and then some really high density, some of our highest density apartment buildings are in that area.
Okay. No more questions from council. I'll open up the public hearing.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor, council, and staff. Robert Barnes, 221 North Chrome Avenue. We're architects of record for this project. Just want to educate you what's happened and what we were trying to do, and recognizing everything you've talked about here tonight. About a year and a half ago, we started this process. Mr. Silva came to me and asked me to put on the property what he and I thought was adequate development as infill there that's affordable and not, you don't overbuild custom home kind of a situation, which is no way to ever go in there and do. This unit they started out as townhouses. This unit is built over Keystone Village. It's off North Canal, just on the corner there, the second phase that happened after the hurricane. It was a 0 lot line house. You can go over there and walk in one of them. And we just took it and put it together, and we thought, my thought was this townhomes was a realistic product to be putting there that creates single family home ownership but still meets the market that you could put in an area like that. We went through the process for the city. The city's going through a lot of growth and expansion, a lot of headaches, and our application kind of floundered a little bit, and it was about a day to a week late or something to a moratorium. Our application was in, but the check wasn't there, so we would have been in prior to the moratorium. So we set for another 3 to 6 months, and it's been a year and a half that we've been here with this project. We've talked to the staff a lot about this project and really talked it to death, and so we went to a condominium design. I left it as townhomes. If you'll notice, you still got your 8-inch block wall between the middle of them, so that there's security and privacy between the units. That condominium's not required, and I can't talk for the client, but we have talked about ownership, and I do believe it's been a while since I was here at the zoning hearing, but I think I suggested the client would be willing to create if you had a contingency on your approval that it be sold as condominiums. I don't think that's a problem, because I think he understands and what the city's trying to do, and I do, and I think the product is probably in the economic range of what you could build over there. Yeah, it's not the Taj Mahal, but it's a lot better than what's there. in some cases. I mean, obviously, in single-family ownership is the most important thing, I think. So, if you want to stabilize a neighborhood, so if that's something that you feel you can legally do in buying the project that way, then I would suggest it.
Mr. Porter?
The reason for being able to discuss this in a first reading and get your input, Mr. Barnes, to be able to come back with the owner of the project, that in the second reading, if it were to make it through the first reading, then you would be able to have that window to work with staff, and the staff would be able to get the direction clearly from the council on which way to go if ownership is an issue, because I tend to agree that I would like to see ownership. And we've had historically, most of the areas where we have the most amount of our problems is large rental-based communities. They seem to move in and out rapidly as fast as we pick up the old sofas. There's a new set of sofas out just in a couple of days, and that's a huge burden for the city. And that area is predominantly that way. So, I think at some point in time we've got to try to figure a way to revitalize that area. This is a step in the right direction, but if there's any way that you could get the client back who would give us some commitment, whether it's legal or not, I'd have to ask the attorney as to ownership of the project instead of a purely rental project.
It's not something that we could make a condition of the approval. You're correct. You recall that from other applications. However, if the applicant wanted to voluntarily come back with the condo papers signed and not make it a condition of approval and just have that at second reading, I suppose that is some evidence of their intent to move forward.
Well, we've always been, that's always the issue. We have certain requirements that as a council that are requested, and they're promised and never fulfilled. So, for a security blanket for the council, if the developer, if the owner comes back and voluntarily, because if it doesn't, they may not make it past first reading. He's got one choice, or he's got two choices. He's got the choice of not adhering to some of the requests and or losing the project completely and starting over again.
I think that approach is the only one I see that satisfies your desire to have some assurance and allows us to do it in a manner that's legal. If they just go ahead and voluntarily commit themselves and do the paperwork and create the condominium association.
The other thing I was at is the council knows that it can't deny this application based on the ownership issue solely or at all. So the other considerations that you've discussed in terms of the neighborhood and other things would be the reason. On the other hand, if it comes back in a different format, you might make a different decision.
Well, the argument is, at this particular point, it looks like a duplex. That's the argument. That was what I saw initially. And the issue that I personally would like to see is some reinvestment in that area. The positive investment has got to overcome, at some point in time, we've got to overcome what's there. And when you have a developer coming in that's going to do at least something better than what is currently there, I would like to be able to give them every chance that we can. But I do agree that with the rest of the council that ownership is an issue. So if I was to deny it, it would be because it was a duplex. Okay? Or it would appear to be a duplex. But if we can get past that, then I'd like to see us get past that. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, Mr. Porter. Anything else from council? Any other public input? Any other public input, Mr. Long?
Sure, I too, believe, right now it's, for the most part, a vacant lot, and certainly over the long run, that kind of investment would, over a period of time, I think, erode or eradicate that types of housing that are not consistent and that no community really wants to have in its community, and I don't think any governing body wants to have that type of situation where people have to live in those circumstances. I mean, think some comments here tonight, maybe from Ms. Waldman, that some of those buildings are just in deplorable, as bad as they get within the city. I understand that Mr. Barnes here tonight is speaking on behalf of a client and not from his own perspective, and I kind of want to key in on one thing he said tonight on behalf of his client that really solidifies my no vote, because I think our planner has given me some confidence that with the inconsistent zoning and land use map, that probably what would be required would be, for my money, a better situation than what's being proposed. And what it was, Mr. Barnes, is that's about what the market will bear for that area. Well, I think this council has been very proactive in the vision for the future of this community and building for the future and not building for what's there today. And I certainly agree that look of what's proposed shoots at what is mostly there today. Obviously, it's probably 30 years newer than anything that's there today, but it's still it's not the vision that I'd like to see and the risk that I'd like to see and the kind of project that I think we as policymakers would really like to see in that neighborhood. And again, we've all keyed in on the fact that it's not just this lot, but it is a huge swath of infill, if you will, in that area. So I'd really like to see, and let's not get hung up on let's make it condominium, because we all know we can't sit here, as the attorneys have said, and approve or disapprove based on rental or not. While we all know that a rental situation can occur at all sizes and all levels, clearly some things are going to be far more amenable to rentals than other. And clearly, I think it's been the policy of this council to encourage home ownership as best we can. And given the look of this, I mean, even if it were a condo, there's nothing to preclude it from immediately being utilized as rental investment property. So I'm going to vote no, and if they get enough yes votes, maybe they'll come back and clean it up between second and third. But that's where I am. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, Mr. Losner. Any other comments?
I got one more question.
Yes, if I may.
Let me have the councilman answer a question, and you can come forward.
I can wait.
You can wait?
I can wait.
Okay, go ahead.
Good evening. My name is Ivan Rodriguez. I'm representing Miami-Dade County Public Schools. We are a little bit concerned only from one perspective. Pursuant to the interlocal agreement that we entered with the city of Homestead as well as with the other 26 municipalities in the county, every time there is an application that will increase the density, we are required to provide an impact analysis on public schools, which in this case we did. However, we are also required to sit down along with the city and the applicant and evaluate what kind of mitigation options are we gonna do on that specific item. In this case, we haven't had that dialogue. So from that respect, we really have concerns. So I know this is first reading. We don't like to say that we oppose anything necessarily, but we would like to have the opportunity to have dialogue with the applicant and the city before you make your final decision.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Mr. Porter?
Mr. LaPlante, Charles. Simply put, in the future land use of what this is proposed, what can be there different than what's being proposed?
Townhouses?
How many?
Density doesn't change. Maximum up to 10 units to the acre, be 4 units.
How many?
Say that.
It would be 4 units. That would be
4
the most.
units. Townhome design.
Yes.
Okay.
Cluster houses, but you'd have to have 5 acres, so that doesn't work.
There's no cluster.
Mobile home park, I don't think that's a good thing to do at this location. Okay, flip the page. Could do a single family if rezoned to R2.
If it was rezoned to R2, you could do a single family.
Right, it's currently zoned R1. Up to 10 units to the acre setbacks. We'd have to look at the setbacks and those things.
2 additional units.
2. I don't think they get 3. I think just 2 units would be all they could fit total. So, yeah. And that's basically it. Or apartments or condos.
Okay, so 4 townhomes or 4 apartments.
Right.
Or what the application is in front of us, or it could be rezoned to something that would allow 2 single-family units on it that, if they were single-family detached, still doesn't mean they wouldn't be rental. They would just be 2 single-family detached.
That's correct.
And the area is surrounded by the elements that we just talked about.
That's correct. Keep in mind that to do townhouses, which is what they had originally intended, it doesn't work out to plat them by leaving the existing. That would have to be demolished, and it would have to be, the layout of the property would have to be changed, which is why it is not moving forward as a townhouse, because each unit would have to have its own lot, and it doesn't work as it currently is configured to do a townhouse.
But it could be done. But it could be done, a replat.
Yes, it could be done, but the existing would probably have to be demolished to do the townhouse.
It could be replatted. I'm sorry, Charles, sometimes I just can't hear what you said.
A little closer. It can be replatted to do townhouses. Right now, you currently have 2 lots, so you could theoretically do 2 single families on it. To do townhouses, it would require replatting. The way it's configured now, it could not be done as townhouses, and that's why it's not being done as townhouses, because townhouses require their own lot, and the way it's configured, it would be very hard to lay that out by leaving the existing unit on there.
Okay. Between now and if it were to, the motion was to approve first reading. If it were to clear first reading, would you be able to sit down with the gentleman from the school board?
Yeah, they would sit down
and address the issues that he has?
Right. Yes. Okay. Certainly. Also under our requirement of direct mitigation, it doesn't come in because it's under the threshold of 15 units, I believe, is the requirement, and it's already land use as this amount of density. So.
Okay. Thank you. Thanks, Mayor.
Thank you, Mr. Porter. Any other comments? No other public comments. I'll close the public hearing. Any final comments from council? Roll call, Madam Clerk.
Mr. Porter?
Yes.
Mrs. Waldman?
No.
Ms. Garner?
Yes.
Mayor Warren?
Yes.
Mr. Losner?
No.
Next is second reading of an ordinance of the City of Homestead, Florida, granting the request of Elite Construction and Development, Inc. for a rezoning from G General Use District to R1 One Family District. Also granting preliminary plat and site plan approval for Graceland Estates, a 13.64-acre site consisting of 74 single-family units, located north of Campbell Drive, southwest 312th Street, east of southwest 162nd Avenue on the east side of Theoretical, northeast 16th Avenue, southwest 160th Avenue, and the south side of Theoretical, northeast 11th Street is legally described in Exhibit A and providing for an effective date.
Is there a motion for second reading?
Move second reading, Mayor.
Move second reading by Councilman Porter. Is there a second?
Second, Mayor.
Second by Councilwoman Garner. Any initial questions from council? Initial questions from council. If not, I'll open the public hearing. Any comments from the audience? Do we have any comments from the audience?
Good evening, Mr. Mayor, members of the council. For the record, Annie Betancourt with Dade County Public Schools, the Office of Facilities Planning. With regard to this application, I do want to report that the applicant has agreed to proffer. We did have a dialogue, and they proffered an acceptable mitigation that the schools that are going to be impacted. So I just want to make sure that you understood that in this application we're following the intent of the interlocal agreement, and we thank the applicant for their effort. Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Mayor?
Mr. Losner?
I'd like to ask Ms. Bennett not obviously it's not relevant to the vote here. Is the city privy to that mitigation plan? You talked about that it had filed a mitigation plan for the schools that were directly impacted. Are we privy to that here at the city? Is that something that we could become part of our package in the future?
Yes, thank you for the question, Councilman Lossner. The process is such that with Mr. LaPratte's office and our office, the municipalities are always part of the dialogues. And that has been the case. That has been the case with this application. And I attended the meeting this morning, so that you know, the planning and zoning meeting. And I explained that in the past I have been quite involved as well with other municipalities, with the city of Doral, North Miami Beach. And in accordance to the interlocal agreement, again, it's to involve the planners at the city level with the developer and establish that dialogue as well with the school district to plan for the future.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Certainly, as we go out in the community, the question that's always asked, how could you? It's always, we're addressed as how could we allow this new development? The schools aren't in place, and this is just another piece of information that's not readily out there in the public that it's nice for us to know so that we can respond. Well, did you know that X $100,000 is going to go to X school for X amount of project? Those are just things that that it would be very, very helpful to get out into the community as these projects are approved. So thank you again. And
I think it's advantageous for the developer in itself, because when a client, a future buyer comes to the sales office, chances are they want to know what schools are serving the area and what shopping centers are nearby. So I think it's a win-win situation. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor.
Any other public input? If not, I'll close the public hearing. Any final comments from council? Roll call, Madam Clerk. Mr.
Mayor, before you cast that vote, I just want to remind the applicant that we need to continue working on the acquisition of the theoretical 160th Avenue. There's a couple of parties involved, and I just need their continued cooperation with that as we look to make a roadway through there.
Is that a condition of the approval?
Yes.
Condition of the approval?
Yes, that is condition of approval. We'd hope to have it figured out before now. But we need that work. I know they need it for water and sewer, and we need it for access for kids to be able to walk to school and those items. We already have a portion of it, so we need to...
You need amendment to the motion to...
If I could. We need to...
I'll entertain the motion. Second. Amendment.
Well, one thing I want to keep in mind is we want to make sure that it's feasible, because it's not necessarily in our hands to work with one of the property owners, and we want to make sure that we're not overburdening this applicant with having to acquire something that might turn out to be, depending on the other property owner, extremely expensive. So that's my concern, and that's why I temper it with, while we cannot control an independent party, we just need to, in good faith, continue to work to acquire that. And they have been. I mean, it's just, we just don't have the most willing of parties. So.
Been properly moved and second with this potential condition.
Well, I think we need to be clear as to whether we're adding this as a fifth condition.
If I could, I would say that we add it, and then if it becomes a financial hardship, then maybe we can take it out at some later date. Is that a possibility?
I would instead suggest that we do it in the language that you're suggesting of cooperate and work with the city on the possibility without committing them to a firm delivering of the right-of-way, because as you say, it's not within their control to deliver all of it.
That's fine.
We need to move to amend.
Need to amend?
To amend to add that condition.
Mr. Porter moved to amend to reflect language requesting continuous cooperation with the city in resolving the issue.
And I seconded that, Mayor.
Second, the amendment by Ms. Garner. All in favor of the amendment, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Let's go on to the original. Roll call, Madam Clerk.
Mr. Porter? Yes.
Ms. Garner?
Yes.
Mr. Rosner?
Yes.
Mayor Warren?
Yes.
Next is second reading of an ordinance of the City of Homestead, Florida, amending Ordinance 94-09-78, which granted a variance allowing 3 apartments where 2 were permitted on property located on 1031, 1039, and 1047 Northwest 9th Court, formerly known as 1039 Northwest 9th Court, as legally described in Exhibit A, to release the unity of title condition and providing for an effective date.
The motion for second and final reading?
Move second reading, Mayor.
Moved by Councilwoman Garner, second by Councilman Porter. Question? Any comments from council? If not, I'll open a public hearing. Any comments from the audience? Second and final reading, release of unity title. 1031, 1039, 1047 Northwest 9th Court. No comments from the audience? Any final comments from council? Roll call, Madam Clerk.
Ms. Garner?
Yes.
Mr. Rosner?
Yes.
Mr. Porter?
Yes.
Mayor Warren?
Yes.
Second reading of an ordinance of the City of Homestead, Florida, amending Ordinance 78-08-45, which rezoned 3 parcels of property located at 820, 836, and 854 Northeast 3rd Avenue as legally described in Exhibit A to release the unity of title condition and providing for an effective date.
Second reading, Mayor.
Second reading by Mr. Porter. Is there a second?
Second, Mayor.
Second by Ms. Garner. Comments from council? Another unity of title. Comments from council? If not, is the public hearing. Any comments from the audience? Any public input on this issue? If not, I'll close the public hearing. Any final comments from council? Roll call, Madam Clerk.
Ms. Garner?
Yes.
Mr. Rosner?
Yes.
Mr. Porter?
Yes.
Mrs. Waldman?
Yes.
Mayor Warren?
Yes.
A resolution of the City of Homestead, Florida, granting preliminary plat approval for Portofino Villas West, located south of Southwest 312th Street, Campbell Drive, and west of the Florida Turnpike Extension is legally described in Exhibit A, an 18.10-acre site consisting of 211 townhouse units and providing for an effective date.
Is there a motion for adoption of the resolution?
Move adoption, Mayor.
Moved by Mr. Porter. Is there a second?
Second on the question, Mayor.
Second by Councilwoman Garner. Ms. Garner?
Mr. Pratt, this development, is it supposed to have access elsewhere besides Campbell Drive? Was it worked out so that it had...
Yes, it does, to the south through Granada Estates.
Okay. And is that going to alleviate a lot of the ingress and egress?
I would hope so.
Because I'm wondering if we should maybe entertain a right-in, right-out only on Campbell Drive. Is there going to be a light there?
That is up to the county to decide. I know that they are looking at a traffic warrant study there, so.
Well, I know we've done that with a lot of the developments on 8th Street because it is quite an issue. The traffic is pretty bad, so. I would like to see that. If the county's not going to put a light, I'd like to see it right-in, right-out only.
Okay. That's fine. We can associate with that. But there is also other ingress and egress to the south, out to Farm Life. But,
Mr. Porter?
This is the development where there was questions about the wall between isn't this the one that...
Yes.
Now,
Yes.
all that issue of the walkway and the trees, that's been ironed out?
Right, yes. Yeah, that was ironed out in the site plan process. This is the tentative plat.
I'm sorry?
I said that was ironed out in the site plan process. This is a tentative plat.
Okay, but all that's been worked out?
That's correct, yes.
And what's the status of that theater? Are they moving? When do we see some walls coming up?
It should be very quickly. We're going to build it as a tilt wall. There was some discrepancy. They went back and forth on block to tilt wall. And the blocks is what normally theaters are built with, and they fill them with sand for the sound dampening of it. Tilt wall, they had to make some special baffling inside, but it provides for the quickness of the placement, as everybody can see with the BJs that went up, tilt wall.
That's what I'm saying, are they going to build it as quick as they put in BJs?
Yes, sir. That is the plan. They should start pouring those very shortly. It will require some special sound dampening within the walls because the tilt wall is not as soundproof as blocks filled with sand. But we've been meeting with Mr. Crowley on a number of occasions as recently as last week, and he's very anxious. He's already ordered the carpet, the concession stands, and he told me he's already ordered films for October, so he needs to have it done. So
I'll believe it when I see it.
They're working out there every day.
Thank you. Any other questions from council? This is a public hearing. Any comments from the audience? Any comments from the audience?
Good evening, Tim Williams Agricultural Enterprises Limited, with offices here in Homestead at 75 Northeast 15th Street. I would like to ask Councilwoman Garner to reconsider her request. We've had some discussions here in the back of the room. We're not sure what kind of problems that will create with actually obtaining the traffic light, which we feel would better serve the community. And as Charles pointed out, that's a Miami-Dade County street. So we really have to go through their process. And I think, with the connectivity to the project next door, which we've all labored to accomplish, that a lot of the daily trips, that combined with the recently approved development on the corner of 162 and Campbell Drive should capture a lot of that traffic. So I'd like to ask her to reconsider that, mostly because we're not sure what effect that would have, on the entrance feature, the way it's designed, our stacking, and how it relates to the other intersection that's further to the east.
I'm not sure how, I'm picturing lots of stacking. If you drive right there at 5 o'clock in the afternoon, there's cars everywhere. And with this entrance right there, I don't want to see a lot of people trying to get in and having it stacked right there on 8th Street, trying to make a left-hand turn into the entrance. I was just trying to not run into that problem.
I understand, and I think a lot of the design of the entrance feature has taken into account a lot of those concerns. And when we did the traffic study, of course, we did the traffic study first and then designed the entrance feature based on the recommendation of the traffic study. One of the other problems we experience at this entrance is the distance and parameters for the school zone. Twice a day, you have that school zone that might make traffic through the school zone, and then, people would be trying to U-turn to come back to turn right into the project, and we don't have our traffic engineer here tonight, and we're really uncertain as to what kind of impacts that would have, because that's not the kind of thing we can come back and undo. When we went through the site plan process, we did look at all those things and took into account, the recommendations of the traffic study.
But how long will that take, Tim?
Sorry?
When you anticipate the traffic study back?
No, it's been done long before this. This is just a T-plot approval here tonight. Back before we had the site plan approval, we had the results from the traffic study and designed the entrance feature according to that.
Mr. Mayor?
Ms. Woman?
Could we, Susan, could we perhaps use the same verbiage as you used in the last with Graceland, as far as just the possibility of working with Dade County? Because I do hate to stop a project when it's up to the county and the state as to whether or not to do the project, but maybe just encourage them to continue to work with, and I'm sure you already are you not?
Oh, yes, ma'am.
Yes, we could draft something that would please use your best efforts to help us get a light approved by the county.
And show that you're, aggressively trying to accomplish that task, because I agree with Ms. Gardner. I mean, it could be a serious situation, but I just hate to see that stop it.
Sure, and our focus, of course, is to actually get a light. We want to see the warrants, require a light at that intersection. And if, we're not sure, in fact, what started the conversation in the back of the room was if the right in, right out would somehow prohibit, our ability, according to the counts, according to the numbers, according to their analysis at a future date, would keep us from getting a light. We don't want to see that happen. Maybe as you're planning, either planning here tonight, maybe they'll have some input into that.
Well, I'm sure Ms. Garner...
I can't see through the camera.
Ms. Garner will stay on top of it.
What I would suggest is a requirement of a traffic signal warrant study at that location by the applicants.
I'm sorry, Charles, what?
A study that does a traffic signal warrant.
Like a warrant study?
Yes.
Look, Mayor.
Yes.
One of the things that we're doing right now in the same avenue is the BJ's is an example of where we know there's going to be a problem in the future, but the only way we can get the county to come in and do a light is to have the analysis done. And once the analysis is done, we can, if their analysis says you don't need it, you can always refute that analysis with your own and then, go from there. But, you have to have the impact, unfortunately, prior to getting the improvement. And it's really the cart before the horse mentality, but unfortunately that's the way it works. If we sat here and never let anything happen, the roads would stay the same. Unfortunately, the way that it's laid out, we have to show the impact first and then try to get the county, work with the county to get them to come down and address the issue, just like we're doing right now with the 328 and 6th Ave in front of the new BJ's. We know that's going to be a problem. Ms. Garner says she knows it's going to be a problem. Everyone here knows it's going to be a problem. So what we need to do is go ahead and start the mechanism which allows us to advocate for something there to address that problem, a light.
Yeah, Mayor, if I might, members of council, I have received from Miami-Dade County, and it's their process to work this way, but I have received information from them for another development on Campbell Drive, very close to this one, where they would not say whether a light needed to go there or not until after it was built. But the most that applicant can do is do a traffic warrant study and a signal warrant study. And if it's required, then that petition would be taken to the county, and then they would have to determine on whether they want one there or not. The proximity to the bridge, to the school zone, I don't know. I can't say whether they will or not. It's their jurisdiction. But the most that applicant can do would be to do that study, and if the study dictates, then the petition could be made to the county to put one there.
But if we're an advocate for something, in general terms, when we've gone to the county as an advocate for something, we've been able to get favorable response most of the time.
That is correct.
Most of the time. If the study warrants it, which it should, and if we are advocates and the developers are advocates for it, there's a very, very good possibility we could have it addressed. And the sooner we start, the sooner we'll get the resource for the light, hopefully. That's why we started the BJ's light a month ago.
Absolutely.
Thank you, Mayor.
That's correct.
Thank you, Mr. Porter. Any other comments?
Real quick before you vote, the process they would have to go through with all the T-plats and then the subsequent final plats, which this will come back to you because this is a preliminary plat tonight, so you'll get another shot at this in a final plat format. And I think Charles hit on it earlier. We take our approval here and then we go to Miami-Dade County. We have to work through their platting process, and since this is their road, it's my understanding that they're going to pay very close attention to the intersection, how it relates to the other intersections there, and so we'll be working closely with them, and they'll be reviewing all of our numbers, and we hope that they go the right way. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other comments from the audience? Any other comments? Any final comments from council? Roll call, Madam Clerk.
Ms. Garner? Yes. Mr. Losner? Absent. Mr. Porter?
Yes.
Mrs. Waldman?
Yes.
Mayor Warren?
Yes.
Mayor, was that to vote with requiring the traffic signal warrant?
That was my understanding.
Okay, so that is a condition. We just need to know for our paperwork here, so, okay.
Clarification. Mayor, was it a right-hand turn only, or was it a traffic signal as part of it?
That's what we need to know.
That'll be part of the study.
Just that prior to final plat approval, we see a traffic warrant study and...
Okay.
Okay.
It's clear. Clear for me. Thank you, Mayor.
A resolution of the City of Homestead, Florida, granting a request by Stephen DeGrave for a special exception to allow the operation of 40 electronic video games within a restaurant and sports bar located at 242832 South Chrome Avenue between Maury Drive and Southwest 1st Street in the Pioneer Corridor, as legally described in Exhibit A and providing for an effective date.
Skip number 7.
Is there a motion for approval?
Did we?
So we're going to go back to 7?
Skip number 7, Mayor.
Skip number 7.
Do you want me to go back to the other one? I apologize, I skipped one.
We were confused.
Since you read it, let's go with 8 and we'll come back to 7.
I'll move it with a question.
I'll second it, Mayor.
Moved by Mr. Porter, second by Ms. Wallman. Mr. Porter, I have a question.
Now, the video games, that's the exception. That's part of the code. It has to have approval to get a video game. That's considered an arcade, or what is the issue?
No, it's just in our code. Over a certain number of video games, you have to have a special exception.
What is the minimum?
I can't tell you off the top of my head. I think it's 3.
Oh, 3?
Yeah, it's.
I mean, that's been a vacant building for a good long time, and we need foot traffic downtown.
There were many questions of this applicant regarding the video games by staff as well as the Planning and Zoning Board. He is here and he can explain to you his thought on this. I mean, this city in the past has had not very good experience with video game rooms. I can remember a few.
I'm sorry?
I can remember a few growing up that were not the best places to be. I don't believe that is a situation with what he is trying to do, but he needs to explain that himself.
Let me ask the chief a question.
Yeah.
Chief, they're your next door neighbors, and you'll drive by them 100 times a day. You're not going to let them have any problems, are you?
No, sir.
Okay.
They should be well behaved,
Well, the police department is right next door.
Yes.
And the main access to the parking for the officers in the rear, they will be going back and forth on a nonstop basis.
That's correct.
Yeah.
I'm willing to try something different to establish something for the community to do, and I will rely on the enforcement of the police department to make sure that they do it correctly.
And that was a feeling of your staff and the Planning and Zoning Board, was to get something to kind of energize that area down there and move it forward from what it is.
Will there be off-duty police for this operation?
That's not a requirement of ours. I believe if they get over
40 video games and the history of these games in Homestead, what's your take on it?
I think it's something we need to talk about, and he can get with me on that, and we'll work that out.
Mayor, I have a question.
Ms. Robin?
This is an adult, well, I don't want to say adult video, but it's, yeah, I have to watch what I say.
Not cute.
But this is a sports bar, right? I think I visited your place in Key West before.
Right. I do own another business identical to this in Key West.
We're talking about Trivia Pursuit and...
Right. We have 100 video games down there. and never any problems. These games are not like the old-time ones, because nowadays kids have their own games at home, and we can't compete with those. I mean, they just can't do it. So we give people an activity to do while they're at the sports bar or the restaurant. A lot of our countertop games are made by Merit. They'll have like 150 different games in them. There'll be trivia games, there'll be word games, there'll be puzzle games, or all sorts of things like that. They're more adult-oriented. We're not looking for the kids, because it is a sports bar.
Well, and as I read in planning and zoning, there's unless you're accompanied by an adult and you're having something to eat.
Our house rules, the way we have it, is that if you want to come in the place, you have to be over 18 years old. You can't drink unless you're over 21. And if you're under 18, you must be accompanied by a parent, not a guardian or somebody over 18 years old. It has to be a parent. So, we do allow families in there if they're with their parents. And this is the inside. Now, we also have the courtyard area, which, of course, is a little bit different. And that's not going to have so many video games. It's not going to have that type of an impact. That's going to be more of a social gathering spot.
Well, I happen to know, I have friends that live in Fort Lauderdale, and they have access to a place like this. And they actually have teams. Like on every Tuesday night, they go and compete, with these trivia games and these short games and all these things. So I say welcome to the neighborhood.
We also have an area that we're building that's a NASCAR-themed area, which is going to have a NASCAR driving game. It'll have a bunch of driving simulator games, and that we're really trying to go along with the theme of the Homestead Speedway, and work off of that and get people who are interested in driving and racing and things like that. And keep with the theme and keep with the whole atmosphere, and try to bring a little bit of Key West up to Homestead here, and a little Jimmy Buffett music playing outside and stuff like that, and make it an enjoyable place for people to go, and hopefully the whole police department will come over and visit us. And it is nice having them next door.
And when I get all those phone calls about about my adult videos, you're busy, right?
Won't be adult videos, right?
Excuse me, could you state your name for the record?
I'm sorry, my name's Stephen DeGrave.
And your address?
510 21st Lane.
Thank you.
And this project is in the CRA, and the CRA has reviewed it and is in support of it.
Chief? Thank you, Mayor. I think because it's a new business coming into Homestead, and we are dealing with kids with games, I would strongly recommend that he get with me to talk about off-duty there. A lot of times, it's best to start from the right foot and do the thing the right way rather than go back and visit it and have police officers go in there after the fact. So I think if it's a new business and you want to do well, in my opinion, over the years, start out on the right foot, and you should prosper from that. So I think we should look at having at least one police officer working off duty to get it started and make sure everything work out okay for the city, and also for the owner as well. Thank you.
Thank you, Chief. Any other comments from council? This is a public hearing. Any comments from the audience?
That's not a condition, is it? Because if I had to have
what I'd like to do is just meet with the chief and,
I'll meet with him. I mean, we've been in business for 30 years, and, we know what we're doing by now. And, we have never had any problems, with the police department. They've been very cooperative with us, both in Key West and up here. Well, we haven't had any need for them up here, but, they've been very cooperative, and we do stay within the law, and we do, we try to create an atmosphere to where I don't want to run a place that has to have bouncers or doormen or off-duty policemen or on-duty policemen. That's not the kind of atmosphere I'm looking for, and I think that creates a stigma, which I'm not looking for. I'm looking for a Key West a fun spot for locals and tourists alike. We want to do barbecues on Saturday and Sunday afternoon, trying to draw in the antique shoppers and, football fans and things like that, because we have a lot of TVs, and we're going for the football crowd, NASCAR crowd, things like that. And I'm not looking for trouble. And I think sometimes if you look like you're looking for trouble, it's going to keep the people who think, they look at it and they say, hey, they've got, somebody working the door, they got police at the door, they got this or that, they must be a trouble spot. I see that in some places around town, and it kind of baffles me. I mean, I can see their theory to a point, but then again, there's the other point where I don't want to go someplace where there's a cop sitting at the door, and I think a lot of people feel that same way. No offense, Chief, but But
He just asked to sit and talk with you, and you all work that out. We won't make it part of the condition tonight, just meet with him.
oh, yeah, I mean, I definitely, I need you guys. If anything ever does happen, I certainly do depend on you just like everybody else in this community. And, we're going to do our best to be great neighbors to you guys. And we're going to have a little party before we open up just for you guys.
Thank you. Any other public input? If not, I'll close the public hearing. Any final comments from council? Roll call, Madam Clerk.
Mr. Losner?
Yes.
Mr. Porter?
Yes.
Mrs. Waldman?
Yes.
Ms. Garner?
Yes.
Mayor Warren?
Yes.
Now, Mr. Mayor, number 9 also relates to this gentleman, so if you would like to do that before we return to number 7?
Yeah, go right ahead.
Okay. A final order of the City of Homestead, Florida, granting a certificate of use to allow the sale of alcoholic beverages with the service of food for on-premises consumption at 242832 South Chrome Avenue between Maury Drive and Southwest 1st Street in the Pioneer Quarter as legally described in Exhibit A and providing for an effective date.
Move approval, Mayor.
Move approval of Mr. Porter, second by Ms. Wallman. Any comments from council?
One comment.
Mr. Porter?
This is consistent with the previous uses. It's been that way for a very long time.
That's correct, and this is even an area of the city that is exempt from distance separation from government properties and the like. This is really, that's what was there at the previous use. It promotes the arts and entertainment district for the downtown that everybody is trying to promote down there. Brings in more nightlife in that area, so that's why it's being supported by staff, and the Planning and Zoning Board also supported it.
What would be a typical food menu, a variety of food?
What we have is, we're noted for our chicken wings, hamburgers, Philly cheesesteaks, things like that. They are simple foods. They're not, your complicated foods are very reasonable. We're not out there trying to sell $17 meals. We're sitting there selling, chicken wings. We have specials. What we try to do, we have a belief, unlike some of the other liquor establishments around. Our belief is rather than trying to entice people with low liquor prices or free drinks and ladies' nights and things like that, we'll do specials such as 25-cent chicken wings during all NFL games, 25-cent chicken wings during any Florida team when they're playing out there. We do specials on food constantly, which are, ridiculously low, to draw people in with the food rather than the alcohol, because we're not out trying to get people drunk. We're not out trying to, get people in trouble. Our goal is to get people to come in, have a good time, entertain themselves, watch TV, play the games. We have some top-of-the-line pool tables in there, which are untouchable in town. They're beautiful. They're brand new Brunswick Gold Crown 4 tables. They have Simonis cloth on them. We use red circle cues. We have the best house cues you've ever seen. So it's kind of a classy operation as far as an upscale type. It's not really a pool hall because we only have 6, Brunswick Gold Crown tables. And it's not really an arcade because we only have 40 games, and it's not just a bar because we have food. So we kind of give everybody a little taste of everything rather than try to just exploit any certain area. And like I said, our belief, isn't that we want to make a lot of money on our food. If we break even on our food, we're happy as can be. But we don't want people going in there just to drink and just get drunk. It's not our belief. We don't have, we're not having bands or, disco nights or things like that because we have our own entertainment. We have, the TVs, the video games, and the pool tables and things like that. So it's a true sports bar. It's a concept that we've coined for some time now. We started in '75 down in Key West, and we've grown and built a lot, and we've certainly learned a lot. We've made our mistakes like everybody else did, and hopefully we won't repeat any of them.
Good, thank you. Mr. Porter?
Let me just say, I want to welcome you. I think your concept of what you're trying to do is right on for the community. It's something that I think we need. We need entertainment, quality entertainment value, which can be, I see a lot of people sitting at the little video arcades as they have a drink over the happy hour discussing their hard days. And this community is striving for things to do, quality things to do. And that's an area that we need redevelopment in. We need participation from companies like yourself, and I encourage you to ask us for assistance. Rick Stotts, CRA, if we can help you to continue on and be successful and work through the little problems that you may run upon. And I'll encourage the chief to meet with you right away, and we'll work out any potential confusion or any potential problems in the future. But I think that what you're going to do for the downtown is going to be another issue in the whole chain of events that have taken place positively there.
I agree. I see a huge potential down there that's not being tapped. I know a lot of people are scared to go down there. I couldn't even find a bank to finance it. It was unbelievable. I had to talk to the owners and they're holding paper for me for 3 years. And that just amazes me that, people aren't willing to take a chance and go down there. You have something that nobody else has in this area. You have a historic district. And, it's beautiful. What you've done with it, with the trees and the streets and the street lights and all that. I've been going through that area now for, 25 years myself, driving back and forth, and I've seen the improvements. I've seen it go up and down, and the positive and the negative about it. And I personally believe that it's a very good potential for growth, and it's going to be a beautiful area.
Mr. Mayor, you are going to have some music, sometimes maybe in the courtyard, I hope?
Well, in the courtyard, I'd like to get maybe some steel drum stuff or some soloist guitar stuff, something like that.
Right.
Get some local talent in there, and maybe bring some talent up from Key West, that kind of stuff, because that'd be just more of an attraction, and it's a beautiful, beautiful area. And I just got some really nice gliders in there to go out there so that, poor people can sit in the glider and just go back and forth, and I'm putting those together right now as we speak, so I'm getting real excited about it. I've cleaned the whole place up a lot, repainted it, recarpeted it, just constantly cleaning while I'm waiting, waiting for all my approvals.
We're excited for you.
We're looking forward to the grand opening. So.
I'm looking forward to it too. We're going to try to have some special parties up front to show everybody the place and give them a preview of what we plan to do. We're pretty proud of what we've done with the place and our color schemes. We've taken the same color scheme that we have in Key West. We've got some beautiful fish mounts up there, and a big shark hanging up there, and it looks pretty cool. And I'm proud of it, and hope you guys are too.
Hey, a quick comment and a quick question. And I want to commend you for committing to our historic downtown, so that you'll probably be the first business, a real catalyst to draw some of the thousands of new residents on the east side over in to the west side of Homestead.
That's my goal, and I have more visions. I bought the building right next to the police station as well, and over a period of time, as soon as I get some money coming back in again, I'd like to be able to rehab those buildings and utilize those as well, and get the downtown business hopping. I think, like I said, I watch the area, and I see how it's growing, and even here today, the hundreds of new houses and townhouses and homes going in here, and the thousands of people moving in as fast as we can see them. I just see a great potential.
And it's important to get those new residents all over Homestead to see that there is something to offer in our old downtown. Right. And probably most importantly of all, are you ready to tell us what your projected opening date is?
You see this paper I've been waiting to get signed for 6 months. As soon as I get this signed, I get in the liquor board, and then I can get things going. And that's been my only holdup. I've been ready to open for a long time. I just had to go through the bureaucratic process here, and ran into some problems. So they didn't have enough people on a quorum for the planning and zoning, so I got pushed back again. And I've been paying my mortgage payment, my insurance payments, and everything else, and just sitting there chomping at the bit.
Well,
I can only clean so much. I got everything cleaned already.
I'm excited, and I think you really have the support of everyone who's been involved for so long in trying to get something going, not only in downtown, but in that site, and I think you've got the formula to make it happen. So
yeah, I'd like to, and I can sit and tell you all the problems they did in the past and how you can see where it wasn't going to work. I think this is a good formula. I'm excited about it, and I can't wait.
Good luck.
Good, thank you.
Roll call, Madam Clerk.
Mr. Porter?
Yes.
Mrs. Waldman?
Yes.
Ms. Garner?
Yes.
Mr. Losner?
Yes.
Mayor Warren?
Yes.
Returning to item number 7, Mr. Mayor, a resolution of the City of Homestead, Florida granting site plan approval for the Malibu Bay Clubhouse within the Malibu Bay Planned Unit Development, located on the west side of Malibu Bay in Malibu Way, in the middle of the Malibu Bay Planned Unit Development, south of the Florida Turnpike and north of 312th Street, Campbell Drive, as legally described in Exhibit A and providing for an effective date.
Is there a motion for approval? Moved by Councilwoman Garner.
Second.
Second by Mr. Porter. Ms. Garner?
What's the timeline on this? How long do we expect to take?
I'm sorry?
How long do we expect this to take? Aren't the clubhouses supposed to kind of move concurrently with the development of the houses so that
Prior to or concurrently with?
people
yes.
move in so they can go to the clubhouse?
And that's why we are moving this one as quickly as we possibly can. The applicants get it done, and it's our understanding they're actually going to hire all the developers that are builders out there, they're going to hire a clubhouse builder to come in and just do this one.
So they're going to expedite it?
So, yes, they should.
Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, Ms. Garner. Any other comments?
Was that a nod, sir? What's that?
That was a shake, not a nod. Yes, it's going to be expedited, but in this case, it'll be expedited because Stonegate Joint Venture is going to be building it themselves. The developers of the overall Malibu Bay PUD, the home builders who are there now building, in fact, are going to be the people responsible for getting this clubhouse built and delivered in a very timely fashion.
Excuse me, could you state your name for the record and your address?
Tim Williams with Williams Agricultural Enterprises Limited. I want to thank staff for working to get this process very quickly. Charles Proud, Tom Lampert, and Rick Chandra have been meeting, I think, as a result of conversation that we've had here in this forum about the timeliness of the amenities for some of these projects. I think Mayor Warren and Councilwoman Judy Waldman both mentioned that they were hearing some feedback about the timeliness. And so this is in response to that. It's been accelerated probably 90 days, I would think. And their plan is to get it built as quickly as possible.
Good. This is a public hearing. Any comments from the audience? Any comments from the audience? If not, I'll close the public hearing. Any final comments from council? Roll call, Madam Clerk.
Mr. Losner? Mr. Porter?
Yes.
Mrs. Waldman?
Yes.
Ms. Garner?
Yes.
Mayor Warren?
Yes. Legislative matters.
First item, Mr. Mayor, is first reading of an ordinance of the City of Homestead, Florida, amending the police officer's retirement plan by amending Chapter 22.5 at Section 22.5-47, duties and responsibilities, to allow the Board of Trustees to invest up to 50% of the plan's assets in domestic stocks and up to 10% of the plan's assets in foreign stocks. Actually, there's a slight change in the title I need to read off of the other. In foreign stocks, and to add a prudent trustee standard of liability, providing for severability, inclusion in the code, and an effective date. This is the first reading.
Is there a motion for approval?
Moved, Mayor.
Moved by Mr. Porter, second by?
Second, Mayor.
Second by Ms. Garner. Now, this comes, I think, with the unanimous recommendation from the board and Tappan and Canada, the plan administrator. Am I correct?
That's correct, Mayor.
Any comments from council? If not, I'll open the public hearing. Any comments from the audience? Any comments from the audience? If not, I'll close the public hearing. Any final comments from council? Roll call, Madam Clerk.
Mrs. Waldman?
Yes.
Ms. Garner?
Yes.
Mr. Losner?
Yes.
Mr. Porter?
Yes.
Mayor Warren?
Yes.
Next, Mr. Mayor, we have some amendments to the comprehensive plan, and I'd like to advise the public that for each of these amendments, there's a sign-in sheet at the rear of the hall. If you're interested in receiving notices on future activity on these amendments, please sign that sheet and you'll be notified. Item number 2 is an ordinance of the City of Homestead, Florida, granting the request of Louis Sweezy to adopt an amendment to the comprehensive plan changing the future land use map designation of an approximately 41.81-acre parcel from low-density residential LRU to medium-density residential MRU, located on the northwest corner of the intersection of Southwest 162nd Avenue, Farm Life School Road, and Southwest 320th Street, Mallory Drive, as legally described in Exhibit A and providing for an effective date.
The motion for first reading, moved by Mr. Porter. Is the second?
Second with a comment, Mayor.
Second, Ms. Garner with a comment. First comment, Mr. Porter.
We have the school board, or the players from the school board, and they've all been involved in this discussion.
The school board has reviewed this. The applicant does need to meet with them for direct mitigation before your second reading. And they were advised of that today at the Planning and Zoning Board as well.
So if there's not a favorable comment out of the school board, then there would be a position where the council could take a negative approach in the second.
Yes, that is correct. But I know that they want to put that on the record, so Ivan, if you want to...
Go ahead.
I'll just ask that question.
Yes.
Okay, it's basically to repeat what I said in the previous item. Ivan Rodriguez, Miami-Dade County Public Schools. Pursuant to the interlocal agreement, the school board did prepare an impact analysis on this application, and we submitted that to the city, and I believe it was copied to the applicant. What we haven't done yet is meet with the applicant to find out ways of mitigating the impact of this development. I don't know if you have our analysis in your packets. Let me just take a couple of minutes and quickly... And of course, the number of dwelling units may change depending on what the application or what the applicant will ultimately do. Based on the information that we have as of February 1st, we did the analysis based on 418 dwelling units, which will generate 318 students. If that changes, we would have to prorate our analysis, of course. That will generate 146 elementary students, 80 middle students, and 92 senior high school students. The three schools that this project will impact are Campbell Drive Elementary, which is presently 141% overcrowded, Campbell Drive Middle, which is presently 124% overcrowded, and Homestead Senior, which is 109% overcrowded. In the same analysis, we also provided information of the projects that are planned in our 5-year plan. We have a new middle school, which is under design presently, that will relieve Redland, Campbell Drive, and Homestead Middle. And we're going to be providing 1604 student stations at that school. It's a brand new middle school, and that's earmarked or projected to be occupied in December of '06. We also have in the 5-year plan a new high school, which is State School Triple T, which will relieve South Dade, Homestead, and Southridge Senior, and that will have 3,647 student stations. It is funded in the second year of the 5-year plan in fiscal years '06-'07. We also, right now as we speak, we are working on Campbell Drive Elementary. We are providing a classroom addition of 286 students, and that should be opening right in the next school year in August of '05. The same thing is happening in Campbell Drive Middle, where we're providing an addition of 286 student stations, and that should open again in August of '05. We also have what we call State School TT1 at Keys Gate. That's one of the EFDB schools, K-8 facilities, for 2,120. And that should relieve Campbell Drive Elementary and Campbell Drive Middle School.
Excuse me, Mayor, may I ask a question? Is that the school between South Canal and North Canal, just off 162nd?
That is correct, because somebody else that works Homestead.
Yes, that's correct. That is,
okay.
Yes, that's it.
I don't know.
There will be 2 schools there, and they will both be FPD schools.
K-8.
Yes. They're slated for 2 K-8s, or maybe one will start as K-8, and then when they build the second one might turn into elementary and one middle.
Because
but there will be 2 schools.
When Commissioner Greer came and spoke to us, she went over all these things, that you're saying, and I thought she said it was going to be a K through probably 5th or 6th or however they decide to do that, and then a middle school.
That is what they're looking at, but I know that they're going to build one school a couple years prior to the second one. So the first one, I think, is going to be a K through 8 to accommodate the broad range, and then when they build the second school, we determine whether that one would just be the elementary or middle school, and then the other one would be the opposite. So you would end up with two schools, one elementary and one middle. But it's going to start out as one school as a K through 8 to accommodate.
I see. Okay, thank you.
And the only concern that we have, that's okay, the only concern that we have is that we need to meet, we need to sit down with the applicant. That's all we're asking, before you pass the second reading. And as you may or may not know, at the last board meeting, the school board did pass a 5-year plan, and you should be receiving copies of this, and if you don't have them, we'll make sure that you do get them.
Can I ask you a question before you sit down, Mr. Mayor, please? The outer areas that don't have municipal coverage, that are in unincorporated Dade, how do you interface with developing those areas?
Well, we go through Miami-Dade County.
Okay, so they follow the same criteria when they do developments in other areas as well?
Exactly the same. We only have one interlocal agreement with all the municipalities and the county. Okay. So we follow exactly the same process.
Okay. Have a site been determined for the proposed new high school yet?
I believe the site is it's been acquired already. I believe that's the Air Force Base.
Okay.
30-some acres that we did get.
That's correct.
That's correct?
Yes, yes.
One final question before the applicant and his part of the infrastructure improvement as far as what could be done to Maury, the existing Maury, and what would be done to what would be farm life. There needs to be major amounts of improvement. Would they participate, or are they going to pay?
Well, this is just the land use. Before anything is built, there's going to be rezoning and site plan, and that would be the time when we request their participation in those improvements. There was some discussion today at the Planning and Zoning Board about the 4-laning of farm life, the continuation of the 4-laning of farm life. I think we need to see that. And I think there needs to be some improvements to Maury, as well as the intersection of Maury and farm life.
Well, I think that, that's part of what we're talking about, because this is an impact. It's an impact to the schools, and certainly an impact to the roads. All of that new development south of 328, there used to be no traffic in and out of the 157 or whatever going into the farm life. That's all I know is farm life. Farm life into the main entrance of the villages. Now it's a steady stream of traffic, and you've got a bottleneck. You've got 2 bottlenecks there on farm life. That needs to be improved.
That's correct.
And if you're going to allow development, they should certainly help pay for the access. So when that comes, if this goes forward, when that comes forward, I think that should be a certain mandate of this council, of this city.
I would agree. When they come forward with site plan and those items, it needs to all be taken into account, and by then we should have our complete citywide traffic study done, our traffic transportation plan done, so we'll know where we need right away and those things. I already know that there's a few parcels of property in this block where some right away needs to be given up in those items. So we will look forward to working with that applicant when that comes forward at the site plan, and be making those recommendations to council.
Thank you, Mr. Porter. Any other comments from council?
Mayor.
Mr. Losner?
Thank you. I believe this has been before us in the past, is that correct?
That is correct, and it was transmitted to the state. There was
some of the justification was, as well, that's what was around it, and clearly, we got hung up an hour and a half ago on 3 units and concerned about quality of life and what kind of community and so forth, and it's inconceivable to me because, well, let me back up before I go off on that soapbox. Once we grant this land use change, and when someone comes in for site planning, plat approval, we have no discretion to approve anything less than 10 if that's what is requested. Is generally correct?
No, you can approve less. They're only allowed up to 10. So you can look at less and decide that.
But our means and our just grounds for approving for less than 10 are very limited.
That's more of a legal question. I would defer to the attorney on that.
Yes, you can, the maximum density is that, very much that. It's the maximum density. The cases have recognized they're not automatically entitled to it. So if you have a reason based on compatibility with the surrounding area, availability of facilities, any of a number of issues that at the time your planning staff might identify with this or any other application, those would be reasons to consider a lesser density.
And if you'll keep in mind, if you look at the county's land use is their medium density, it gives a range. Let's say their state density is 1 to 2.5 units to the acre. Their low density is like 2.5 to 6. Ours just says up to. It just says up to.
0 to 10, yeah.
Basically, up to. So we don't even have that bottom layer. So theoretically, you could look at it as she was talking about.
And clearly, what's going on, we have no reason to believe that anybody would come in with a proposal of anything less than 10.
I doubt they would.
And, it's just
9.8.
Well, clearly, we all have concerns about the quality of community. Rentals create police issues, and clearly our history has shown us time and time again that any approved density in excess of 6 will be a rental community. And it's, we talked earlier in the other neighborhood east of Chrome Avenue about how, I think Mr. Porter called it the reverse cancer. Well, and I voted against this when it went to the state back in November and December. He talked about, well, if you start doing something better in a neighborhood, the less desirable elements will go away. And seemingly that's right on point here, is that, we have some of that higher density surrounding this, but this is a very large piece of property. I certainly got to be consistent and say no. Look, let's be real clear. We all know what this is going to end up being, and the police department's going to pay for that, the roads are going to pay for that, and let's just stop it here. Thank you, Mayor.
I think you bring up a very good point, Mr. Lausner. Our concern, I think, as Mr. Porter said, would be the infrastructure, whether we can accommodate it. And I think that will limit the density right there, and that's something I would be taking a very close look at. Mr. Williams?
Yes, good evening. Tim Williams with Williams Agricultural Enterprises Limited, again with offices here in Homestead at 75 Northeast 15th Street. I want to address some of the comments made by Dade County Public School Board tonight. I'm sorry, I don't remember your name. Ivan made some comments, and he prefaced it by saying, based on the information that they had. The information that they had showed a certain number of units, but what you're doing, if you adopt this tonight, is only allowing for an increase of 160 units over what's already allowed in that location. So you're agreeing to an additional 160 units over 40 acres. Also in their analysis, I don't believe that they included several of the existing charter schools that are approved and even under construction or occupied and housing students. So since their numbers were calculated and compiled, those numbers have changed, and we've also increased the number of charter schools in the community. So that'll also have a significant impact on any adverse impact from this site. I commented also earlier on this application when it was before it was transmitted to DCA, and we should not fail to recognize, and I know most of you do recognize, that the city of Homestead is not the same. The market in all of Miami-Dade County is not the same as it was 3 years ago, and certainly not the same as it was 5 years ago. We're selling, actively selling higher and higher priced product, and creating home ownership where a short time ago the only option was not a pattern of ownership, and this site is definitely surrounded by very high density, 20 and 25 units per acre, and at 10 units per acre I think you get a high quality project, well planned, and that'll be appropriate in that site. Thank you.
Mayor, if I might, the reports from the school board, and I guess I was going to, they do not include charter schools. They only include the schools that they represent, and they always take the worst case scenario until the site plan comes through they can only take the worst case scenario, but
But
I
the
would,
MBD will be Miami-Dade County schools, won't they?
that is correct. I'll let Ivan answer.
No, what we do include in our analysis is the schools that are impacted. That's what we include.
Okay.
And he's correct. If we have not given credit for something that should be there, we need to adjust our numbers, by all means. And we will do that. And the charter schools, we do provide a copy of all the charter schools that are there. The only problem that we have with charter schools is they have no boundaries, no attendance boundaries. They can come from anywhere. So they are not part of the calculation per se, even though in the packet that we submit to the city, it is contained the listing of all the charter schools, but they don't have any attendance boundaries. But we will make the corrections and we'll just recalculate the numbers.
Amanda?
Thank you, Mayor. This item and the following two items are changes to our comp plan. And usually we make changes to our comp plan to ensure consistent zoning. I'm not an advocate for increasing density, but if you look at this specific site, you've got Colony Lakes, Monterey Point, such apartment complexes in that area. I can't see putting single-family homes across the street from that. What positive effect would it have on those houses to have apartments surrounding it? You need to be consistent in what you have in each area. And, I don't know that we need any more apartments, but we have increased our standards. So we know that if there was apartments coming in, and we did allow up to the maximum, that at least they would be increased quality because of the changes that this council has made to our code. But you have to look at that area, and these changes are being made to ensure that zoning is consistent. And we may not like it, but that's what's in that area. And if you put single-family homes, I just don't think that it fits.
Mr. Porter, then Mr. LaPrade.
In the scheme of trying to create a non-rental community, which is the flavor that everybody's trying to accomplish. You can't sit here and say that single family eliminates rental. We're having problems with rentals in our newer single family developments. I don't think you can deal with that element by density, changing density. I think if we're going to address the rental, I think we need to address it with the way that the properties are sold or leased. In that respect, I mean, there are developers that come in, as my understanding, they come in and if you buy a unit, you have to live there, or if you sell it within a time frame, you have to give them back a portion of the profits. Now, that seems to be a way to encourage ownership as opposed to rental. If you're willing to give back 50% of your profits, maybe that's okay. But what we've seen a lot of in this community lately is people speculating, buying and flipping properties over and over again, and cashing out on that 6, 8, 9 month window. So we've got a tremendous amount of single family rental. And if we can address rental through density, then you need to tell me that we can address it through density. If we can't, there's got to be another way to address it, because the single family communities we have a rental problem right now. So if we're trying to address rental, then tell me how, because I don't see it happening through density. That's my question. Because I agree with everyone that has that concern. But 6 units per acre, all rental, is still a rental community. 10 units per acre, all rental, is still a rental community. There's got to be another way to deal with it. And that's where I would have to ask staff to work with the developer and ask that question. Is that true that the developer can legally require proceeds, if they're sold and resold, that they can get some of the proceeds back?
Well, as you know, there are a number of things that they can agree to do privately that we would not be regulating. I'm familiar with the type of transaction that you're talking about or covenant that you're talking about in the context of an affordable housing project where you're trying to avoid a quick rise in value when the purpose of the project is to keep workforce housing. There's a big debate actually about those types of programs right now in Broward County. So that's the context in which I've seen those before. You do, though, have more traditionally provisions for private covenants that say you can only have rentals that are no shorter than a certain period of time, or only a certain number of times per year can you change the occupant. That's not unheard of and is one way to control the issue, but it still leaves you with the permanent renters. So.
Mr. Mayor.
And how do you really control it? How do you manage it? I mean, that's...
I think what your answer has been, based on what you've done with the R3 zoning, is to improve the quality to the point where, regardless if the people in there are renting or owning, you have a different type of community. If you recall, the R3 standards you put in for a site of this size are pretty demanding in terms of recreational features, design, and so forth. All of that is not before you tonight. That would be later in the process, but just to remind you that that's there.
Well, unless you can tell me that density is the way to control rental, then the difference between a 6-unit per acre and a 10-unit per acre, when there's a need for what we classify as workforce housing, not everybody, including myself, could probably go out east and buy a $250,000 single-family home. But we want them to buy something, and I think that's where we're striving to get at. So I don't want to be seeing a rental community come out, but I don't want to also not have an affordable sector of residential component in the community. So therein lies the problem.
Mr. Mayor.
Ms. Roman?
I believe, Susan, you were here when we talked about this before, and we talked about, as an example, Lakeshore and how they have it within their, one of the condos, I think it's condo 6 or 7, has something in their own documents that says that you have to own the property for a year before you can lease that property out, and then you can only have one tenant per year. I believe that's how it reads. And I don't remember who was at the podium at the time, but we did talk about that. As far as rentals go, I mean, I'm a realtor, so I see every day on the MLS, 15, 20 new rentals east of the highway that come up for rent. And Mr. Porter, you are right. However, I do believe that these speculators, that have come in, they had no idea what their insurance is going to be, what the taxes are going to be, and they can't get the rent to cover the mortgage payment. And they're not homesteaded. They're not homesteaded because they don't live in the property. So I think what we're going to see, and this is just my little speculation, we're either going to see a huge foreclosure problem in the next couple of years, but then I think it'll straighten itself out and they'll be resold and there'll be homeowners who want to live in the home. And I really do want, and I've preached this from day one, I really wish we could put some kind of handle, as we're, not at this point, but as we move forward, to the developers, that they have to be careful who they're selling their homes to. And they have to have some stipulation, and if that requires them to be in their homeowner docs, then that's what it needs to be. But I'm seeing that this is happening because so many people went out and got 3-year interest-only loans, and now they've owned a house for 2 years or going on to their 3rd, and they're trying to rent it. I went for a bike ride the other day in Keys Landing. I mean, there's a lot of houses for rent. Can they get the money to cover the mortgage payments? I doubt it. I really doubt it. So I think what we're going to see is we've seen transition going on, but then I think we're going to see another phase in the next 2 years. I think we're going to see another complete phase where a lot of those rental homes will turn into owner-occupied homes out of necessity. Out of necessity. Because it's expensive living east of the highway. You have to have 3 insurances, and people, You know, I mean, they're either not told or they just don't realize it when they buy over there. So that's just my prediction. And as far as density goes, you know, I'm hoping, and I agree with Ms. Gardner, that, you know, that particular area, I just don't see how we can have much of anything else. But if we have a high-scale, high-end unit townhouse there, that the person that makes, you know, $40,000, $50,000 a year can go and buy that property, and they'll have a pride of ownership. You know, then we're a mixed-use community. We have to have mixed use, but we have to be smart about how we divide that mixed use. And the next two issues with the heavy commercial, I mean, there's a lot of issues here. But we have to be smart, and we have to, if we do change this tonight, then we have to be smart on the projects that do come before us. Very smart. And I think we've learned. I know we're all on a learning curve, but I think we're learning as we go along. And so I just wanted to address that about, hopefully that helped you a little bit, Mr. Porter, with rental. I mean, it's a never-ending problem.
Any other comments? This is a public hearing. Any comments from the audience? Any comments from the audience? Mr. Shiver?
Yes, sir. Thank you. Steve Shiver, 47 North Chrome Avenue, for the applicant tonight. There are a couple other comp plan amendments that really I have the same comments to. This morning, the Planning and Zoning Board met, recommended approval for this 20-acre piece, as well as two others that will be following this in the discussion.
Excuse me, this is the 40-acre piece.
I'm sorry, 41 point something acres. Yes, for the two other parcels as well, though, but they did recommend approval, as this is the backside of the process. You've already gone through. The school board representative mentioned that, and Ms. Betancourt also mentioned earlier today, that we had not met with the school board. Your code provides for opting into the EFBD or meeting with the school board. We at that time had opted, I think the applicant filed a declaration opting for the EFBD. It seems that the Educational Facilities Benefit District is full, and we will meet with the school board to talk about mitigation, and absolutely will do that. But I want to point out two things. First, we talk about the impacts to Campbell Drive Elementary School. I submit to you the majority of the people that go to Campbell Drive Elementary School do not live in the city of Homestead, number one. Number two, the district, and Mrs. Trevarthen explained this to me better this morning, Miami-Dade County districts for the school boards are split, not like their commission or their geographic representation like the county commission. No, they're split into three sectors. One is East Miami-Dade County, which is including this area. Now, what that means is any of the impact fees that are paid, anything that we sit down and if we mitigate with the school board and don't absolutely specify where these monies should be spent, that could be spent just as easily as in Aventura as it is spent in Homestead. So while we talk about mitigation, we talk about the local development, you mandating, as the gentleman said, mandating meeting and talking and mitigation payments, there's no commitment from the school board to take their impact fees and put it here in the first place. All right, now, they try to define that by a 5-year plan. And I really commend what the school board is doing now by their outreach and they're at the meetings, and I respect the fact that they're now becoming more part of the process earlier on. But to say that we want this mitigation payment, we want these impact fees, and then to mislead the community that it's actually going to get spent here all the time, that is not a guarantee. And if it is, I'd like the school board representative to say it. I would request that the city council and the planning and zoning board and everybody in this community stand up and scream that if we pay the monies here, it should be spent at least in this district or somewhere close to it. So we will meet, and all of that said, we will do our best to work with the school board to make sure that the schools are provided for. The first thing somebody says when they walk in the door at a sales office is, where am I going to school? And if you don't have good schools and if you don't strive to have a better school system here in this area, we're not going to sell properties. And that's just the market. It's a free-driven market.
the rental stuff. I know that since I've been involved many, many years, we were scared of rental communities. The onslaught of rental communities and density that was inherently related to that after Hurricane Andrew really put a burden on this community. Let's make no bones about it. But history sometimes can be a good teacher, but also there's an evolution of life, an evolution of economics and real estate economics. And I submit to you that we have evolved beyond that. Affordable apartment complexes, affordable rental communities. We don't have a market rate apartment complex here. Right now, they're renting houses. Because as Ms. Waldman pointed out, they're on the MLS every day of the week. You have just as many rentals in subdivisions, in single-family subdivisions, as you do almost apartment complexes or type developments. So, I mean, let's, again, be very clear that, stopping density at 6 or 10 and being scared of density is maybe not the only way to go. I think it should be appropriate density. It should be, as you have, mandated additional recreational facilities. Ms. Trevarthen and Mr. LaPrade just pointed out. I mean, your R3 code really puts a financial burden on an apartment developer or a density-driven development because you have to put in these amenities. So it's a little different now. I commend you for seeing that and changing your code to actually reflect that. So the comp plan amendment that's here now before you is not necessarily, it is not the zoning change. It is not the T-plat or the site plan approval. That comes again. You have different processes for which public hearings are held at planning and zoning, at DRC meetings. So you have several cracks at the bat as you go through. So tonight I urge you to let's get started. You've already, the Department of Community Affairs has basically approved this. The Regional Planning Council has reviewed it. Your Planning Board has reviewed it. You have reviewed it as you transmitted it back in November. And I say that it's a quality development, and it will be. I also have to say, just as Mr. LaPrade announced his moving forward to, I don't want to say bigger and better things, but...
Who did? What did he announce?
Did I let a cat out of the bag?
Not for everybody.
Oh, okay. Well, I just have to say that I'm really pleased.
I'm just wondering how you know.
I've got ears everywhere, Mr. Pratt. I just want to say how much of a pleasure it's been working through a very difficult and fast-paced time here in Homestead. Charles has been really helpful to us. The planning department and the zoning department has, I'm going to say it, I can say it because I don't get in trouble, has been understaffed. You guys, they've been worked to death. And Amanda says, I'll say it too, yeah, Mr. Garner. But Charles has done a lot in improving that. So I just have to say it's been a good pleasure working with him. So, sorry.
Any other public input? Any final comment from council? Roll call, Madam Clerk.
Ms. Garner? Yes. Mr. Losner?
Madam Clerk, on behalf of the mortgage-paying and tax-paying residents of this community, I'm proud to stand alone and vote no on this increased density.
Mr. Porter?
Yes.
Mrs. Waldman?
Yes.
Mayor Warren?
Yes.
Next is first reading of an ordinance of the City of Homestead, Florida, granting the request of Ernest Valdez to adopt an amendment to the comprehensive plan changing the future land use map designation of an approximately 20-acre parcel from heavy commercial use to medium-density residential use, located adjacent to the south side of Southwest 336th Street, north of Southwest 340th Street, east of Southwest 172nd Avenue, and west of Southwest 167th Avenue, as legally described in Exhibit A and providing for an effective date.
Is there a motion for first reading?
Move first reading, Mayor.
Move first reading by Mr. Porter. Is there a second?
Second, Mayor.
Second by Councilwoman Garner. Any initial comments from council?
Can I ask a question?
Mr. Porter?
If I remember correctly, these were the properties that were originally zoned commercially for the potential water theme park south to Florida City, adjacent to Homestead?
That is correct. The parking lots and other things were supposed to be in these areas. It is surrounded on a couple sides by Lakeshore. Florida City to the west, we were, from a staff level, in favor of hanging on to the commercial, and until Florida City approved 15 units to the acre right next door. And that made heavy commercial not really compatible, wedged in very tightly between two higher density residentials. So if you were to take a snapshot of this, you would have 15 units to the acre on the Florida City side, and on our side with Lakeshore, you have fairly close to 20 units to the acre at that location.
And this piece is in the middle of heavy commercial.
That is correct. That is correct. And you could not access this property without going through a residential neighborhood, which would make it difficult for heavy commercial to exist.
Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, Mr. Ford. Any other comments from council? This is a public hearing. Any comments from the audience?
Mayor, I'm sorry. I know this is same stipulation with this meeting with the school board prior to the final adoption.
Well, good evening once again. Ivan Rodriguez, Miami-Dade County Public Schools, and I certainly do not want to be repetitious. All the land use amendments are basically the same comment that we have to meet with the applicant and mitigate. But I wanted to say a couple of things. In this specific project, our analysis has 200 dwelling units, which will impact the same schools that impact the other two land use amendments, which are Campbell Drive Elementary, Campbell Drive Middle, and Homestead Senior High School. This specific development will generate 152 students, 70 of which are elementary school age, 38 would be middle, and 44 would be senior high schools. And I believe I already gave you the percentage of overcrowding in each one of the schools, and they're the same for 3. And in response to what he mentioned a couple of minutes ago on the impact fees, he's correct. There is a big Miami-Dade County ordinance that specifies how the impact fees are supposed to be distributed. And there are 3 benefit districts. City of Homestead lies within one of the districts that happens to be from Florida City all the way to the county line. However, the impact fees make up approximately 4 to 5% of our capital budget. It is a substantial amount, but it's really a minute amount in the scheme of all. And just wanted to let you know that, and he's correct. The school district has the option of utilizing those impact fees within anywhere within the benefit district. Last year, because of the interlocal agreement, the interlocal agreement calls for the revision or for the study of the impact fee ordinance. And that's precisely what we're doing now. And we are going to be reviewing whether we need to tweak the impacted areas, whether instead of being 3, is it more like 4 or 5 benefit districts. So we are going through the process, and we estimate that in approximately probably about 6 to 7 months more, we will have something that we probably can share with the county and all of the cities and municipalities to see if we need to revise the impact fee ordinance. And I'm here if you have any questions.
Mr. Mayor?
Yes.
I don't know if this is the appropriate time to get into this, and I really don't want to get into it, but I just want to make a statement. The many times that I've heard Commissioner Greer speak, one of the things that stood out in my mind was, for example, the EFBD school that's going in between North and South Canal on 162nd Avenue. Those boundaries are not necessarily going to be just for the EFBD taxpayers, according to Commissioner Greer. Commissioner Greer said, and she said it over and over and over, if there is an area, for example, I'm just going to throw this out, the Village of Homestead that lives right across the street from there, they may include that in their boundaries, and maybe Lakeshore too, I don't know. But I think that's a misconception that people have, and I don't think, and I just want the public to understand it, that it's a Dade County school. Just because it's in the EFBD quote-unquote district does not mean that that boundary is going to be cut off where that EFB district boundary lies. Am I correct in that?
I don't know enough about the EFBD, but I believe that the EFBD, I think you're probably correct, because the EFBD students will come from there as well as from outside the area.
Boundaries.
Right.
And that
is a possibility.
because I know people keep talking about the Campbell Drive Elementary. Campbell Drive Elementary, many children in the villages of Homestead, Lakeshore, they go, that's their school district, Campbell Drive Elementary. So, I don't think we're looking at the whole picture here. I know Commissioner Gersha was very excited about all the charter schools and all the things that were going to happen, and we've had charter school representatives stand up and speak to us, and Vice Mayor Bell isn't here tonight, but I'm sure she would be able to comment even more than what I'm saying. But, I just don't, all of a sudden you're here tonight, but I just don't want the public to get the wrong idea that we haven't been working on this, that the city hasn't been working on this for a very long time.
No, you are one of the communities, so you have been working very hard at it, by all means.
And I
You're the first
appreciate
one for
being
it.
here, but I just want people to understand that those boundaries are not the boundaries that are necessarily going to encompass the boundary of the school. Go ahead.
Yes, Councilwoman Wallman, you are correct. This city was requiring school impact analysis before the interlocal agreement was in place and before the school board was doing what they're doing now. They're the only city in the county at this time that has an EFBD. So certainly the city has really taken this issue very seriously and been very proactive in addressing it. With regard to the EFBD, you're correct that although the statute requires that those who live within the EFBD boundaries be able to access a seat in those schools, it does not limit it to just those people, and it was the intent to oversize so that people from the surrounding areas would be also able to attend those schools.
Thank you, Susan.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Any other comments from council? This is a public hearing. Any comments from the audience? Any comments from the audience? If not, I'll close the public comments. Any final comments from council? Roll call, Madam Clerk.
Ms. Garner? Yes. Mr. Losner?
No.
Mr. Porter?
Yes.
Mrs. Waldman?
Yes.
Mayor Warren?
Yes.
Next, we have first reading of an ordinance of the City of Homestead, Florida, granting the request of Tropical Forest LLC to adopt an amendment to the comprehensive plan, changing the future land use map designation of an approximately 20-acre parcel from heavy commercial use, HCU, to medium-density residential, located on the northeast corner of the intersection of Southwest 172nd Avenue and Southwest 336th Street, as legally described in Exhibit A, and providing for an effective date.
Is there a motion for approval?
I'll move it, Mayor.
Moved by Mr. Porter. Is there a second?
Second, Mayor.
Second by Ms. Garner. Any initial comments from council?
Can I just ask?
Go ahead.
Mr. LaPrade, this is the same scenario in the same general area where it was set aside for what was the future theme park.
That is correct. This property is on the north side of 336 from the one we just spoke about. It actually touches the Lakeshore community, and to the east and the Turnpike to the north. And then south of it would be the property we just talked about, and a portion of the DRI that already has designated residential density in it, as well as the Florida City property we talked about.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, Mr. Porter. Any other comments from council? If not, I'll open the public hearing. Any comments from the audience? Any comments from the audience?
Good evening once again. Ivan Rodriguez, Miami-Dade County Public School. The same comments apply to this one.
That is correct. Yeah.
Thank you. Roll call, Madam Clerk.
Mr. Losner?
No.
Mr. Porter?
Yes.
Mrs. Waldman?
Yes.
Ms. Garner?
Yes.
Mayor Warren?
Yes.
And next, we have first reading of an ordinance of the City of Homestead, Florida, adopting an update to the comprehensive plan establishing an estate density residential ED land use classification, a neighborhood mixed use NMU land use classification, and a planned urban neighborhood PUN land use classification within the future land use element, applying the planned urban neighborhood PUN to create the Southwest planned urban neighborhood, establishing an additional transportation corridor within the transportation transportation element, and changing the future land use map designations on various properties throughout the city as legally described in Exhibit A pursuant to the provisions of the Local Government Comprehensive Planning and Land Development Regulation Act and providing for an effective date. This is the city-sponsored amendments, Mr. Mayor.
Move with the comment, Mayor.
Move the first reading by Ms. Gahn. Is there a second? Second by Mr. Porter. Any initial comments from council?
Mr. Mayor.
Mr. Losner?
I just want to be real clear that while I recognize that there are many positive and necessary and important provisions in this ordinance that's up for adoption now also includes, I believe, the 3 prior items we just discussed. It doesn't?
There are separate ordinances.
Okay. I was reading through this. I thought they were again incorporated here.
It's in the packet for transmittal. It is those are 3 separate approval.
Okay.
And 3 separate votes.
So if I were to vote for this ordinance, I wouldn't be coming after the fact and voting for the 3 items I just voted against.
Not in any way, shape, or form.
That's not how I read it, because they were in the package together. All right, thank you.
No, sir. That's why 3 separate ordinances were listed. These are the ones that the city staff and planning and zoning board and your board move forward. That's not done by any specific applicant, but it's
Then I'll repeat, this is a very important ordinance that contains some key elements to our land use and comp plan.
The one thing I do want to draw your attention to is our text changes that add the new land use categories of neighborhood mixed use, which is and the other new land use category, which adds a planned urban neighborhood. Those 2 items were the only thing in this whole transmittal package that we had comments from the state on, of some things that they wanted to see. So we've added some tables in the backup. I believe you should have a copy of that. They wanted some intensities, some maximum intensities, those type of things. So we've put in some numbers in there that give us a lot of flexibility. Everything else will be handled by code. The limitations will be by code, but height and coverage and those things were given some leeway. So if council chooses at a later date, that we can make it more flexible through code, but code is more restrictive than what's in here now. I just wanted to bring that out. But that is basically, this is what was approved by this board in December for transmittal to the state. And again, these are the city-sponsored amendments.
Thank you, Mr. Garner.
Thank you, Mayor. I just wanted to point out the estate density. This is very important because hopefully we will be annexing property to the west, and we want to keep those properties like the current properties that are there. So estate density would limit it to, was it 2.5 units per acre?
It would be, yes, limited to 2.5. That is consistent with the county's estate density.
That would be maximum density.
That would be maximum,
2.5, yes. Which we don't currently have. So should we annex those properties, we could immediately make them estate density and keep that area how it is.
That's correct.
Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you. This is a public hearing. Any comments from the audience? Any comments from the audience? If not, I'll close the public hearing. Any final comments from council? Roll call, Madam Clerk.
Mr. Losner?
Yes.
Mr. Porter? Absent. Mrs. Waldman?
Yes.
Ms. Garner?
Yes.
Mayor Warren?
Yes.
Next item is an ordinance of the City of Homestead, Florida, amending the General Employees Retirement Plan by amending Chapter 22.5 at Section 22.5 to -138, required participant contributions to provide for return of contributions to a member who leaves a position covered by this plan and is hired as a City of Homestead police officer, by amending Chapter 22.102 plan membership to provide for return of contributions to an executive team member who elects to discontinue membership in the plan, providing for severability, inclusion of the code, and an effective date. This is a second reading and public hearing.
Is there a motion for second reading?
So moved, Mayor.
Moved by Ms. Garner. Is there a second?
Second, Mayor.
Second by Ms. Rollman. Any comments from council?
I think our attorney should run auctions. He's pretty quick.
Any comments from the council? If not, this is a public hearing. Any comments from the audience? Any comments from the audience? If not, I'll close the public hearing. Any final comments from council? Roll call, Madam Clerk.
Mrs. Waldman?
Yes.
Ms. Garner?
Yes.
Mr. Losner? Mayor Warren?
Yes. No resolutions. Business from the city manager.
A couple of things, Mayor. Announcements. The Greater Homestead, Florida City Business
Expo takes place this coming Saturday, April 23rd from 10 a.m. to 5 p.m. at the Homestead Miami Speedway. The city, along with various other businesses, will have a booth set up at the Expo. For more information, you can call the Chamber of Commerce at 305-247-2332. Also announced the Dade County Farm Bureau. They're conducting their 27th annual barbecue and fundraiser Saturday, April 30th at Damari Annex at Farmers Market in Florida City. There'll be live entertainment, silent auction, classic truck raffle, and food. It's $100 per couple. For more information, you can call 305-246-5514. And finally, effective again, we'll keep making this, this might be the last one, but keep making these announcements for a couple of more meetings. Effective April 30th, for those people who watch the replays of the council meeting, the replays of the city council meeting, which are normally viewed on Adelphia Cable Channel 37, will be shown now on Channel 97. Channel 97 will be available to all Adelphia Cable subscribers in the city of Homestead. The time and days when the meetings are normally shown: Tuesdays at 7 p.m. and Saturday at 10 a.m. That will not change, the same as it is now. That's all I have.
Thank you, Mr. Manager. Any update on the utility director's position?
We are, Mr. Mayor, we are closing in on the candidate. Okay. We're looking at some background information, and hopefully in the near future I'll make an offer.
Thank you, Mr. Manager. Mr. Porter?
Well, I guess one question, Mayor. I talked about it briefly earlier about the sign, the potential sign of the stoplight in front of the BJ's. Is that still in the process? You know how I am, I just kind of stay on something until hopefully we get a little closer to it.
Mr. Porter, they did do a traffic count. Mike, you might have more current information, but they did do a traffic count at that intersection here. I guess it was last week on there, do you recall?
I'm sorry, Kurt, you know more than I do. I know they were going to come and do a traffic warrant study for that traffic light, and just to be on the safe side, we have a backup proposal from engineering firm to do it in case the county doesn't move fast enough. I don't really know the update up to the minute from Julio. We could get the answer, Mr. Porter.
You keep bringing it up because I just wanted to stay on the front burner as one of the intersections that I see potential problems for. You know, the people that travel these roads know more about the problems than I think than someone from the county to come in here and sit for an hour and tell us that we don't need a stoplight or a stop sign. So I just want to make sure that we're engaged in that process as much as possible. And I know you are. I'm going to keep asking.
No problem. Next time I'll have an updated answer.
I just want it to be an issue that we stay on top of. Mayor, I know in the committee meeting we talked about the manager and myself and two captains from the police department were going to Tallahassee to try to secure funds from the state regarding the security issues around the NASCAR weekend. Little update, we didn't get a bloody nose, but we didn't come back with the gold ring either. But I think that from the flavor of some of the comments that were made, we may be in a better position, at least closer to getting something. We don't have anything definitive. I mean, it's a chess game up there right now, and I hope that we can. I hope that they can see the justification for what the city as a relatively small municipality has as a challenge when it comes to securing or being the lead agency in the securing of this NASCAR event. As it grows, we're seeing more and more corporate bigwigs, for lack of a better term, that are coming to the race for the championship, because it all ends up here, and that's going to add a significant challenge. And I'm hoping that the senators and legislators will compare us similarly to the Super Bowl events and some of the other major events that they tend to help with support for security. So our game has been played. We've put our message out, and Bob Levy's been doing a tremendous job leading us through the maze at the state level, not only just finding the offices, but helping us in the strategies as how to talk and who to talk to. So I hope we don't have to make any more trips up there, but I do believe we'll have an answer, and hopefully it will be favorable. And if we don't get all that we ask for, hopefully we'll get something so that it will not be for naught, but it certainly wouldn't be for lack of trying. Just a little update.
Thank you, Mr. Porter.
Thank you, Mayor.
Ms. Wallman?
Yes, Mayor. First of all, I want to apologize to everyone. When I came in here tonight, I had been rushing around all over the place today, and I came in and it was so hot. I don't know if it was hot to you in the beginning, but it was so hot, and with the heat off of this thing back here, I had an asthma attack. And I've had asthma as a child and through my adult years occasionally, but I haven't had an attack in so long, and I couldn't breathe, so I had to get up and go out the first few minutes. And I really want to apologize to you, because I'm sure I looked like I was crazy, but finally found my medicine, and I'm okay, but I do want to apologize for that. There's something wrong with this air conditioner, because it was freezing a few minutes earlier, and now she's a lot younger than I am. She's she verifies whether it's really hot or it's really cold, but something's wrong with it, so I apologize. But anyway, my business tonight. The mayor tasked me last week with finding an internal auditor for the city, and we have started our progress on that endeavor. I'm working with Patty. She's doing a research of all the cities throughout Florida, finding out what their internal auditors are paid, their job descriptions, working with Human Resources on that as well, and that will be advertised very soon, as soon as we come to a conclusion as to what we want that job description to say, and we know how much we're going to be offering the applicants. Sheila Paul, our new city clerk, will be starting this coming Monday, April 25th. Very excited to have her on board. She's already an ambassador in our city. She's been attending several events, and I'm very happy to have her, and I know the girls over here are really happy that she's coming on Monday. So that's a good thing. I wanted to just briefly mention the blasting. I live in the village of Homestead, and I don't know, every couple of days my house just shakes and shivers and quivers. And actually I was on the phone with the manager the other day, and I said, "Did you hear that?" I mean, he could actually hear it on the phone. It was just unbelievable. I understand it's not inside our city limits, but we should be proactive on it and find out, at least write some letters or do something. And I'm sure everybody's been getting some of the same emails that I've been getting, but it's terrible. If you've never experienced, then you just have no idea. I thought we were having an earthquake the first time it happened. And the storm drains in the villages, I mentioned this at the committee of the whole meeting. I just want to mention it for the public out there in TV land. Some of the village's residents were very concerned about the storm drains, and if we tear up the sidewalks and if we tear up their yard, will they be repaired, replaced, made as good as new? And the answer is yes. Julio's out sick today, but he assured us that he's taken pictures of all the sidewalks, all the streets, that the new storm drains will be replaced, and so that's going to be fine. So don't email me about that one. That one's going to be fine. And the beautification tourism meeting, we have been very busy actively working on this. Mr. Porter attended our last meeting, which I was very grateful, and Captain Chong. And the City of Homestead and Crime Stoppers, we're going to be kicking off our first of a kind campaign on Wednesday, April 20th at 10:30 a.m. And this is, of course, to help catch illegal dumpers in the city. The unveiling will take place at city-owned lot, and it's one of the biggest dumping sites that we have in the city. It's located at Southwest 3rd Street between Southwest 6th Terrace and Southwest 7th Avenue. As we all know, illegal dumping has been a big problem for us for a very long time, and it's an eyesore to our community. For the police department's code enforcement division, it's always a battle. And we're hoping that with our partnership with Crime Stoppers that we can make a difference. And for those of you who do report illegal dumping, you will remain completely anonymous and be eligible to receive a reward up to $1,000. I'm going to give you a phone number. It's 305-224-4415. That's 305-224-4415. If you report an illegal dumping and the police arrest that person, then you can be eligible up to $1,000 reward. And that's the first time that we've ever had anything like that in the city of Homestead. So thank you, Mr. Porter. With the police department's help and the beautification committee, we're really working forward on that, and to me that's a big deal. I want to invite the residents and visitors to come out to the Homestead Complex, Sports Complex, and watch the players from the Atlantic League Professional Baseball. They start their spring training. It runs from Friday, April 15th through Sunday, April 24th, and they start at 9 o'clock, and I believe that we decided at the last meeting that they stop about 2 or 3 o'clock in the afternoon. It's free to the public. Go out, enjoy yourselves, have a good time, and support all those guys out there. Also, I wanted to tell you that I met with Lillian, and we are working on our Homestead is Home signs, and we have our banner, which I believe is hanging right over there. That's our first banner that actually says Homestead is Home. That's our new slogan, and we're working on some signs with the same colors and design as the ones that we have, for example, in front of the Carrie Meeks incubator. So what did we decide? But I know that was a big thing as incubator.
Center for Business.
That's right, Center for Business. April 27th at 6:30 p.m. here in the council chambers, we'll be changing out all the art. Art South will be coming in, and we'll be changing this all out again. And it's going to be a little party. We're going to provide refreshments, and the public is invited to attend. And of course, all the paintings will be exhibited by Art South artists. And last but not least, the Tee Off for Tots golf tournament will be April 30th at the Redland Golf and Country Club, and the proceeds will benefit the Little Angel Foundation. And there's a phone number for that too. It's 224-4840. If you want to just inquire about playing in the tournament or doing a sponsorship or just giving a raffle prize, that's the number to call. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, Ms. Woolman. Ms. Garner?
Thank you, Mayor. The most important thing I wanted to discuss this evening was the blasting. There is a site south of city limits being excavated. It's a 250-acre lake, and it's just been started. One of the residents in Keysgate contacted me because he thought, like you said, Ms. Woolman, he thought there was an earthquake. He called 911. There have been many reports of damage, from roof tiles to cracked pools to foundation cracks to crown molding joints separating. So I think I've got Ms. Waldman's support. I've asked staff to get together with me. We're planning a meeting. It was approved by the county, so we're looking for a county person to meet with us, but it was also approved by the state fire marshal. And the fire marshal is the one who's holding up our meeting. We're waiting to hear back from them on a date. We tried to get one this week, no avail, so we're working on next week. We will let you know when that meeting is going to be. I would like all residents who've had any damage to come to this meeting. We'll make sure it's publicized. I'm getting a team together with staff to go ahead and try to start documenting people who've had damage and assess the damage, because I really don't think it's fair that new residents move into these brand new homes and within weeks they're experiencing blasting and having damage done to their home. So I will keep on this and let council know how this progresses, but I've had good help from staff and they're working on the meeting right now. So I will let you know what the date is, hopefully next week. I have a question. Maybe Mr. Shahada could help me. Or maybe Mr. Porter. When it comes to stoplights, for example, North Canal and Farm Life, that road used to not be traveled so heavily. There's a lot of new development there. The timing of the light is very short. If you're trying to cross North Canal, if you're at the stop sign and you see it turn green, you're not going to make it unless you're speeding, which we wouldn't do. But how would we go about asking the county to look at the timing? Maybe look at the traffic increase and see that there's more cars going in the other direction, so that maybe the light needs to stay green longer when you're going in a certain direction?
Actually, what the county does, and we have to look at that particular intersection, they normally have sensors in the ground, in the asphalt, that sometimes you drive on the road, you see saw cuts on the road, and they put these sensor wires, and these sensor wires communicate with the control device to tell them about the timing. So if there is no traffic on one side, it will increase the flow from the other side. But I'm just giving a general information, but we will look into that particular intersection and see what they have there, and if there is no timing device, then we will call the county and try to
Thank you.
change time.
I've just noticed a lot of stacking on both sides, waiting for that light, because I travel it probably twice a day.
Let me piggyback, and maybe you can ask the county, because in a meeting the other day, there was discussion about a countywide initiative to take a look at all the county signalization from the same point of view that Ms. Garner's talking about, that over time, they've lost the synchronization. You know, you want everybody going in the same direction as reasonably close at the same time, and then cut them off. And it's been my understanding from a previous meeting that there is an initiative to do that. Maybe if we could find out, I think that her situation is separate and needs to be dealt with individually, but I think that it'd be nice for us to know when they're going to address all the signalization in the county. And it's my understanding that that is an initiative. I guess what we need to find out, what is the timeline on that initiative?
We will look into that, definitely.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Porter. And just one last thing, I'd like to thank Julio Barea for, it was a while back, but he got the speed limit signs put on Farm Life very quickly, so now there's speed limit signs there. Just thank you for expediting that for me. That's it, Mayor.
Thank you, Ms. Garner. Councilman Losner?
Mr. Manager, several meetings ago, in response to some concerns that were voiced here from homeowners with problems with renters in various communities, we discussed perhaps looking into whether or not it was appropriate to establish a policy for a renter in a new homeowners association to approve association approval prior to having utility service provided to that unit. Now, clearly, that would only be where there's an association in existence and renter approval was required. That was probably 8 or 10 weeks ago that we talked about that, and that may have been lost somewhere. And I think we'd really need to revisit that, or at least get an answer for those who are suffering from those who really don't have an ownership stake in their community.
I think we had some help here from Prime, some Prime Homes that they spent some money and did some, I guess, fairly extensive research for the legality and putting language together for their association, which they said they will share with us to share with other associations. Yeah, so they're supposed to be sending that to us.
Certainly, I think some of the issue is that as these projects are not sold out, the developer still controls the association, and this could perhaps spur a release at least of tenant approval where that's required, so that at least they go through that process. I'm sure that'll be helpful from the one, but there are many other pods I am sure that we'll need to address. Earlier I questioned the impact fee, and I hope that we can go back and maybe dig in and see if, at least on the bricks and mortar segment of any improvements, whether or not impact fees are paid. I do recognize that it would be, in theory, become the property of the city upon the termination of the lease, but construction is construction and impact is impact, and I'm just wondering if that's there. And certainly the impact of multi-million-dollar improvements on the city's obligation for ad valorem taxes to the county are not insubstantial. Also, I want to announce that on May 18th, Keysgate Charter School is hosting its first golf tournament. The proceeds are going to raise money for a computer lab at the school. I know the organizers of that event are working very hard and have community-wide sponsorship. They're still looking for players. So for you golfers out there in the room and out there in TV land, contact Keysgate Charter School if you're interested in putting together a team. That tournament will take place May 14th, which is a Saturday, at Keysgate golf course. I know the city is a major sponsor, and it needs to put together its foursome as well. And let's see, finally, and I'll say this again before the final day, but Charles, now that your cat is accidentally on purpose out of the bag, I just want to commend you and express my concerns about your departure from here. You've been a good gatekeeper against the slings and arrows of a whole lot of heavy hitters and very influential people across the board. And notwithstanding the 560 new units that we approved tonight, you've been a very effective gatekeeper and always had the best interest of the city at heart against overwhelming odds and the arsenal of many others. So I want to commend you and thank you, and we're going to be sorry to see you go. But I just wanted to get out there first and out front and say that now that it's already out there.
Yeah, thank you. That was quite an unexpected announcement.
I'm sure.
But I think it's finalized now with the county, but as some of us know and some of us don't know, and some of us were told earlier, that I have accepted a position with the county as the agricultural manager in the county manager's office. But I will not be far. I'll be located on the south end of the county. So
and we have about
I'll always be here for everybody.
Those loose ends that in that infamous or notorious pipeline. So we have a lot of work to do to get that done, because I think only you could possibly ever have a handle on that. And in addition to a utilities director, here we go on another job search.
I've agreed to stay for a little over 30 days, I think it is, and the county's agreed to that as well. So I'll help select a replacement. Even if it's after I leave, I'll gladly sit with that. And again, I'm only as far away as about 5 blocks, so I'm not real far away. I'm not moving anywhere. And my office will be located in the south end of the county. So,
very good. Best wishes.
Thank you.
That's it, Mr. Wilson. Thank you. Well, Charles, you may want to put on a consultant hat for a while.
We can talk.
You want to announce those 2 comments? I'll let you do that.
You sure?
Yeah.
I forgot. The Relay for Life was held this past weekend, and it was really nice. I had the privilege of co-chairing the first year that we did Relay for Life, and then I chaired it the next couple of years, and then had to back out because of my breast cancer. But it was great being back there, and I'm going to be back on the committee again next year. And I'm proud to say that with 25 teams, they netted $48,000. So they did a really good job, and it was, the mayor and I were the food judge. And I'm going to tell you, they had some good food, lots of good desserts. But it was a lot of fun, and I just wanted to wish them well. And we also had that same day the American Businesswomen's Association Woman of the Year Fashion Show, and they did a beautiful job, an absolutely beautiful job. They recognized several women in the community, and I had the privilege of being recognized as well as the winner of In the Company of Women for Dade County. So it was just beautiful. The mayor attended and Sheila Paul attended, and I thank you for that, Mayor. And it was just a beautiful day, a busy day. So thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Roman. I have several items under my business. The first is the reappointment of Mr. Larry Deal, Vice Chairman to the Historic Preservation Board. Is there a motion for approval? Moved by Mr. Porter. Is there a second? Second by Ms. Garner. Any comments? All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? 2 is the appointment of Dr. Jose Cortina to the Historic Preservation Board. Is there a motion for approval? Moved by Mr. Porter. Is there a second? Second by Ms. Garner. Any comments? All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? 3 is the appointment of Ms. Mona J. Bernard to the Special Events Committee. Is there a motion for approval? Moved by Mr. Porter. Is there a second?
Second, Mayor.
Second by Ms. Garner. Any comments? All in favor say aye.
Does that mean we'll have a quorum for them to meet now?
Yeah.
Okay.
All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? I think we have them all except one. I think we're waiting on Councilman Hodge. Right. This month is Fair Housing Month, and we have a proclamation. Pretty much the freedom to choose a home has been one held precious in America throughout the centuries, And whereas fair housing is consistent with the principles of equality and justice for all, and whereas April 2005 marks the 37th anniversary of the National Fair Housing Act, and whereas the City of Homestead extends its support for equal housing opportunities for all people, now therefore be resolved that I, Roscoe Warren, Mayor of the City of Homestead, do hereby proclaim April 2005 Fair Housing Month. In addition to that, I had an opportunity today to participate at a press conference with Congresswoman Ileana Ross-Layton at Jackson Memorial Hospital to announce the National Donate Life Month for April 2005, and several mayors of Miami-Dade County was there, and primarily the mission of the Life Alliance Organ Recovery Agency is to be dedicated to improving the effectiveness of organ and tissue donation by providing care and comfort to the donor families whose compassion and love provides patients with end-stage organ failure with the hope of life through transplantation. And it was a fantastic event, and the Congresswoman was very gracious to come down and take the lead in encouraging people to be a part of the National Donate Life Month. So it was a pleasure to be there. I also attended today at the County Commission. They had the Miami-Dade Schools sponsored a one-day mayoral youth conference in the County Commission chambers, and it entails select middle school students and teachers participating in a civic education program titled We the People Project Citizen. 50 middle schools and over 300 middle school students participated in this year's event, and that took place around 12:15 p.m. So that was a very, very nice event. And these young folks at these schools, I'm telling you, they develop concerns about issues in Miami-Dade County, from transportation to need for additional funding for public schools in Miami-Dade, and they put together legislation to submit to our representative in Tallahassee for considerations. It was fantastic. Let me also express my appreciation to Mr. LaPrade. And I tell you, you've had an indelible impact on everything we've done here in Homestead, and in many of your capacities. And I know that you and the manager had many meetings, and we did all we can to keep you here, but I know you made the right decision for you and your family, and that's the important thing. And I know that we will continue to work with you and find ways that you will still have an impact and input in what we do in the City of Homestead. But I think I speak for all of us to say we appreciate what you've done, and just know that you always have a home back here in Homestead if things don't work out with the county. And thank you very much.
Well, thank you. And I just want to say that this has been the most fulfilling job I've ever had, and it was the hardest decision that I've ever faced on whether or not to go. And some of you know, many of you on council know that it's been about a 2-week struggle. So
thank you, Charles.
It's been difficult. Thank you, sir.
Any comments from the audience? Any public input? Any comments from the audience? I thought it was after 10:30.
Good evening, City Council. My name is Angel Lazo, 1400 Southeast 23rd Drive. I just have a few things. I haven't been to the City Commission for a while, and I'd just like to start by saying that I'd like to thank the Commission for hiring 9 more officers and not selling the baseball stadium. Maybe one of those officers can be posted on Palm Drive because it's become Speedway Boulevard. My backyard faces Palm Drive, and it's speeding all the time. Another thing, I'd like to urge the City Council to support the Town Center concept at Keysgate. I'm president of the Keys Landing Council, and I think that'll bring upscale town center, the kind of stores that we don't have, that the nearest shopping center here would be Town Wine Country or up at the Falls or Dayland. Those are the kind of stores we're trying to attract down here, and I believe the town center concept would bring that, with that mixed use. Now, an issue that we are definitely facing in our neighborhood is streetlights on Farm Life School Road. Back in the fall, I sent an email to the City Council and also Mr. LaPrade in reference to the lights that we don't have down that road. It's pitch dark at night, and it's becoming a severe safety issue. I ride my bike usually from Keys Landing over to the shores to visit my parents, and I mean, it's really hazardous to ride at night there. And we're having a meeting, Keys Landing Council is having a meeting on Thursday at the golf course clubhouse, and I'd like to go back to them with some results, because I believe this issue was addressed by Ms. Gardner, Councilwoman Gardner, and I'd just like to know what is the status of this issue. I've done my research. I've called FPL. Actually, Mr. Jose Solares, who is overseeing the installation of lights in our communities, and he stipulated that this road would be, if it's a city road, then that's the city's responsibility to install and pay for the maintenance of those lights. If it's a private road, as we have in Keys Landing, then it's developer. And being that those are private lights, we pay the maintenance of those lights and the bill for it. If it's a county road, then it's the county, such as Palm Drive. Those are FPL lights, but they pay for the maintenance of those lights. So in essence, what I'm asking is, where do we stand, and how can we get some lights down that road, because this issue is very important to the homeowners of Keys Landing and the shores.
Do we have a staff update on those lights?
Mr. Mayor, council members, I know Julio is coordinating with the developer to work the street lights issue. This road, even though it's about the property is a public right-of-way, it's not turned over officially yet to the city of Homestead, so it's under their control still. Regarding the comments about FPNL telling them what the city of Homestead code, I think if they, I'm sorry, your last name?
Lazo.
Mr. Lazo, if you call me, I will be happy to tell you what our code calls for and know the specifics about that road in particular. So I will just hook up with him after the meeting, give him my business card and talk.
Sure. I actually called the city and to Mr. Brea's office, and I was referred to Mr. LaPrade's office, and I sent emails to everybody and did not get a response, but I'm willing to talk right after the meeting. That'd be great.
Good.
I appreciate it.
Good.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any other comments from the audience? Any other comments? Thank you all very much for coming. Meeting is adjourned.
Good night, everybody. Good night, everybody.
The lady that does the deaf sign language, she can't keep up with him.